Chapter 549. Hidden Art Loft, Auction Hall. Feng Yun. Ruin shouted impatiently when she saw that the other party had clearly agreed to release her sister, but had no intention of doing so immediately. Since you've already agreed to my request, then you must keep your word. Release my sister immediately. Madame Ruin, please don't be angry. Feng Yun hurriedly smiled apologetically at Ru Yin's reprimand while he tried to sound her out carefully. I don't know if you only have one request to release Miss Ruin, or if you have several requests. After all, Ruin, who was locked in a cage made of scarlet phoenix blood gold, was their only means of intimidating Ruin. Before reaching an agreement with Ruin and before he could ensure his own safety, Feng Yun did not dare to release Ruin, the only person who could intimidate Ruin. Ruin smirked as she glanced at Feng Yun with disdain. Her gaze then shifted to the private rooms that had participated in the auction, as well as the dozen lustful men in the hall, before finally returning to Feng Yun. If I said that I only have one request, would you believe me? Ruin asked with a forced smile. I believe you. Feng Yun's heart tightened when he saw Ruin looking around the auction hall. A terrifying thought appeared in his mind. However, the people who had participated in the auction were only customers of the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion. They were only connected to the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion because of their interests. Their lives and deaths had nothing to do with the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion. If Ru Yin's targets of revenge were only those who had participated in the auction, Feng Yun would naturally be happy to stand by and watch. However, snakes were fickle creatures. Who knew if Ruin was telling the truth? Therefore, in order to ensure the safety of himself and the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion, Feng Yun had to have Ruin give him a reason to believe her even though he said that he believed her. Madame Ruin, the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion is a chamber of commerce. We never believe in verbal promises, nor do we believe in unbinding promises. We only believe in oaths made using the Heavenly Tao. If you can use the Heavenly Tao to swear that as long as you release Miss Ruin, you will not cause trouble for the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion. I, Feng Yun, will also swear on the Heavenly Tao to immediately release Miss Ruin. Swear. Ruin looked at Feng Yun like an idiot and asked with a cold smile. Then, she gripped the cage tightly with her left hand and lifted it with all her might. Originally, it would have required 4 martial ancestor realm experts to work together to move the cage. However, Ruin lifted it gently. Snakes had 2 main ways of attacking their enemies. The first was through poison, and the second was through entanglement. As the king of snake-type exotic beasts, the snake belle was born with divine strength. Even if he did not deliberately cultivate his physical body, the power contained in his physical body could reach the peak of martial king. Feng Yun, when I asked you to release Ruin, I wasn't begging you. I just wanted to use the restriction in Ruin's body to lure that person out and ask him a few questions. Ruin glanced warmly at Ruin, who was looking at her in the cage. Ruin said coldly, "Since you're unwilling to agree to my request, that's fine too. With this cage that can automatically absorb energy, I don't have to worry about anything anymore. I can avenge my sister to my heart's content." At this point, Ruin looked up to the sky and let out a snake cry. Following the deafening snake cry, Ru Yin's black clothes instantly exploded. Her body, which was originally the height of a normal human, instantly grew into a gigantic snake beast that was several thousand meters long. Just as her body grew larger, Ruin opened her mouth and swallowed Ru Yun's cage into her body. Her body instantly expanded to several thousand meters and directly broke through the entire auction hall. The crowd who had escaped from the auction hall were battered and exhausted. Fortunately, the black bear, who had rushed back to the private room in time, used its enormous body to shield Yu Haoran from the broken bricks and tiles, allowing him to calmly appear outside the auction hall. Although the 59-meter-tall black bear seemed rather small compared to the gigantic snake beast that was several thousand meters long, the black bear, who was at the peak of the 5th level 9th grade, was still a colossus to the crowd who had escaped from the auction hall. Upon seeing the young man standing on the black bear's shoulder, most of the people present had already recognized who this young man was. After all, Even Tian Yi, who was highly regarded by Emperor Qin, did not dare to directly kill an official of the six ministries on the day he moved into Xianyang City. However, the young man on the black bear's shoulder had directly ordered the black bear to attack without any hesitation. How could the people present not know about this matter that had shaken the entire Xianyang City? This stinking brat, when did he come to the auction hall? Why didn't I see him? Gao Yinping, who had also fled from the auction hall in a battered and exhausted state, immediately grumbled unhappily when she saw Yu Haoran standing on the black bear's shoulder. According to my speculations, I'm afraid that vice sect leader Yu has already entered the auction hall and is one of the owners of the 72 private rooms. Although Meng Yun's body was also covered in a lot of dust, making him look battered, his expression had always been very calm. He did not reveal a trace of disgust because of the dust on his body. Meng Yun guessed, as he recalled the various information and analysis he had collected about Yu Haoran from the Empire yesterday. Brother Meng Yun is right. With that brat status, it would not be a problem to spend a large sum of money to get a private room. Gao Wamping nodded and agreed with Meng Yun's speculations. He immediately grumbled unhappily when he thought of himself sitting in the main hall while Yu Haoran, who was his martial nephew, was sitting leisurely in a private room. This stinking brat, since he could get a private room, why didn't he invite me, his martial uncle, in? I don't believe that he did not see me sitting alone in the main hall. Meng Yin shook his head with a bitter smile in response to Gao Wanping's baffling complaints. He did not say anything and only looked gravely at Ruyin, who had transformed into a giant snake. Ruyin, who had transformed into a 1,000-meter-long snake, was also attracted by the black bear's enormous body. For some reason, when she saw the young man standing on the black bear's shoulder, Ruyin's originally tyrannical mood actually eased a lot. After confirming that Yu Haoran did not participate in Ruyin's bidding through the Snake Beauty's special secret technique, she reminded him in a gentle tone, "Young man, a bloody battle that no one can predict is about to erupt here. It is very dangerous for you to stay here with your strength. You should leave quickly now." Nodding at Ruyin, Yu Haoran patted the black bear and motioned for it to turn and leave the hidden art loft. However, just before he turned and left, Yu Haoran left a message for Ruyin with the help of the black bear's mind. Chapter 550. Hidden Elegance Loft. Looking at the back of the young man who gave her a warning, a trace of doubt flashed across Ruyin's face. She didn't know why the strange young man gave her a warning, or how he knew about Emperor Qin's true cultivation and the supreme-grade venerable realm magic weapon he possessed. However, ever since she saw the young man for the first time, Ruyin felt an inexplicable trust in him. She had only felt this kind of trust from her younger sister, Ruyun. Therefore, her original intention of slaughtering all the people of the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion in Xianyang City, as well as those who dared to have ill intentions towards her younger sister, was greatly weakened. However, when she saw Feng Yun and Jiang Yin being protected by 3 martial saints and 8 ninth-grade martial emperors, she was shocked. Seeing Tian Yi, who had won the bid for Yin Yun, and the young girl, who was protected by a 7th-grade martial saint, Ruyin immediately decided to kill the 4 of them and escape from Xianyang City. If you don't want to die in Xianyang City, then you have to kill the 3rd prince Tian Yi, whom the Qin Emperor values the most, and who is likely to ascend to the throne in the future, and Princess Ling Fei, who is regarded as the apple of his eye. Just as Ruyin was about to kill Tian Yi and his younger sister, Yu Haoran's stern warning sounded in her ears. "Ruyin, this is my last message." Although Ruyun's power was sealed when she shed her mortal body, causing serious damage to her bloodline and foundation, it's not like there's no way to save her. If you trust me, leave Xianyang City immediately. Half a month later, take Ruyun to the Qingyun Peak of the 100 Qi Gate. I will break the suppression of the cage and help Ruyun remove the seal in her body, as well as help her gradually recover her damaged foundation. After fulfilling his last obligation, which could be considered as repaying the debt he owed to Ruyin and Ruyun in his previous life, Yu Haoran patted the black bear, indicating that it should leave the hidden elegance loft quickly. However, several thousand meters away from the hidden elegance loft, Yu Haoran, who had changed his appearance and temperament, returned to the hidden elegance loft after shaking off some people's tracking through the disturbance caused by Thaling's divine sense. He returned to the hidden elegance loft to see if Ru'in had listened to his warning and suggestion to leave Xianyang City before he angered Emperor Qin. Secondly, he wanted to find Feng Yun to collect the billions of spirit stones from the 3 auction items. She didn't believe that Yu Haoran, who was only at the peak 9th grade Martial Saint realm, could open the cage that even she, who was a 4th grade 9th grade Martial Saint realm expert, couldn't break. Even more so, he did not believe that the youth could restore Ryun's damaged foundation, which even the clan's venerable realm elders could not restore. Elegance Ru'in Yu, Ru'in Lu Yun, Ru'in and Elegance Loft of her loft. Since Ru'in Loft was looking forward to the chance to escape from the cage and break through to the Martial Saint realm, there would be plenty of time and opportunities to take revenge on these damned humans. Therefore, Ru'in secretly activated the complete top-grade Martial Saint realm artifact in her body and planned to leave Xianyang City temporarily. Then, she would go to the 100 Qi Gate and wait for the young man to fulfill his promise. However, just as Ru'in was about to leave the hidden elegance loft, she glanced at the people who had participated in the auction with all their might. Ru'in Loft's heart was instantly filled with hostility. Ru'in Loft opened her mouth slightly, revealing 2 sharp, poisonous fangs. She deliberately avoided Tian Yi and Ling Fei, as well as Meng Sheng, who was also standing in front of a 7th grade Martial Saint. Ru'in Loft's poisonous fangs spurted out 2 streams of poisonous liquid. The poisonous liquid spurted out instantly turned into countless poisonous rain. The poisonous rain seemed to have eyes as it directly rushed towards the people who had participated in the auction with Ru'yun, as well as everyone in the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion. Seeing that Ru'in had listened to his warning and started to leave Xianyang City, Yu Haoran secretly let out a sigh of relief. After all, with Emperor Qin's terrifying strength, as long as he was the one who attacked, even if Ru'in could escape from Xianyang City alive, she would definitely be severely injured. At that time, he would have to spend energy to save her. However, when he saw that Ru'in had spurted out the unique poisonous liquid of the Snake Beauty clan when she left the hidden elegance loft, an audacious plan emerged in his mind. He immediately took out more than 10 poisonous spiritual herbs from his storage ring and quickly melted and condensed them with his Dantian fire. In the end, they formed a spiritual liquid the size of a walnut. Then, he ordered Thaling in his sea of consciousness. Thaling, please use your soul sense to disperse the spiritual liquid and merge it with the poisonous rain spurted out by Ru'in. Thaling asked as he scattered the spiritual liquid into countless water droplets and quietly merged them with the poisonous rain. Yu Haoran, what are you doing? I'm preparing a way to protect myself in Xianyang City. After replying to Thaling, Yu Haoran's soul sense entered his storage ring to check if he could refine enough spiritual herbs to neutralize the poison. Looking at the poisonous rain falling from the sky, everyone subconsciously mobilized their souls and origin energy to form a protective barrier to protect themselves. However, when the poisonous rain fell on the barrier, everyone was shocked to find that the poisonous rain could corrode the barrier formed by origin energy and soul sense. Some masters and powerhouses with rich family backgrounds hurriedly took out their defensive artifacts, hoping to use them to resist the corrosion of the poisonous rain. However, what terrified them the most was that the poisonous rain was able to quickly corrode a top-grade Emperor artifact. Only Saint Stage artifacts could barely resist the corrosion of the poisonous rain. There were less than 10 people with Saint Stage artifacts at the scene. There were only 3 people who had Saint Realm defensive magical artifacts. These 3 people were Jiang Yin, the Vice Pavilion Master of the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion, Princess Ling Fei, who was regarded as a pearl by Emperor Qin, and Xiang Wenxuan, the handless pill emperor from the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Therefore, when the poisonous rain disappeared, everyone who participated in the auction was soaked in the poisonous rain except for Jiang Yin, Ling Fei, Xiang Wenxuan, and Yu Haoran, who was not afraid of the poisonous rain at all. Originally, everyone had closed their eyes and waited for death after being soaked in the poisonous rain. After all, the Snake Beauty's poison was ranked 78th on the Tianxin continent's 100 poisons ranking. It was a poison that would kill anyone who touched it. However, to everyone's surprise, not only did the poison rain not take their lives, they did not even feel the slightest bit of pain. This caused them to be puzzled. Why did my origin energy disappear? Chapter 551. Hidden Art Loft. Yuan Li had disappeared. After hearing the warrior's cry of terror, all the experts and strong people who had been soaked by the poisonous rain quickly checked their own conditions. Then, to their horror, not only did they lose years, decades, or even hundreds of years of cultivation, even their souls in their sea of consciousness had vanished without a trace. The ones who couldn't accept losing their Yuan Li and souls the most were the third prince, Tian Yi, and Meng Sheng from the Meng family, the #1 aristocratic family in the Emperor Qin Kingdom. No, this is impossible. How could I, Meng Sheng, lose my Yuan Li and soul? Because of the fear in his heart, Meng Sheng, who had fallen to the ground, couldn't accept the result of losing his Yuan Li and soul. After all, for the young disciples of their families, losing the Yuan Li and soul that they relied on to survive was 100 times worse than losing their lives. Tian Yi, who had also suffered a heavy blow, was also filled with fear. However, his pride as a crown prince, as well as his powerful mental state cultivation, allowed him to drive away the panic in his heart and begin to think of a way to resolve his predicament. If there was anyone in the world who knew the most about poisons that could corrode Yuan Li and soul, other than the 5 poison sect, it would be the Medicine King's Valley, which thrived on pills. Therefore, Tian Yi signaled the strong people who were guarding his safety to leave for now. He walked directly to Xiang Wenxuan's side and greeted him respectfully. Junior Qin, Tianyi greets Senior Xiang. Your Highness is too courteous. Xiang Wenxuan, who was well-versed in the ways of the world, didn't dare to accept Qin Tianyi's greeting. He hurriedly dodged and returned the greeting. Senior Xiang, I'm sure you understand the situation here. Does Senior have any good ideas? At this moment, Qin Tianyi didn't care about the red tape and directly asked his purpose. Your Highness, can you allow this old man to take a closer look? Xiang Wenxuan, who had always been shrewd, didn't take on everything to show off. Instead, he solemnly asked for a check. Please go ahead. Qin Tianyi didn't have any objections to this. Instead, he needed great cooperation. Raising his head and looking around, Xiang Wenxuan's gaze landed on one of the few warriors who was only a martial master. Elder Feng, capture him. Qin Tianyi, who had been paying attention to Xiang Wenxuan, quickly discovered the target of Xiang Wenxuan's gaze. She knew that he wanted to examine the condition of others, find a way to detoxify, and then treat herself. In order to allow Xiang Wenxuan to experiment better, Qin Tianyi instructed the peak 7th grade martial saint expert. In a flash, he appeared beside the martial master who had suddenly lost his elemental energy and looked extremely depressed. Then, like grabbing a little chick, he brought the martial master in front of Xiang Wenxuan. Although Xiang Wenxuan wasn't too happy about this, he didn't say anything. Instead, he carefully inspected the martial master's body. The more Xiang Wenxuan examined, the more his brows furrowed. He took out a pitch-black pill from his storage ring and fed it to the martial master. Then, he used his divine sense to observe the effects of the pill. However, when he saw the elixir that contained ordinary poison get swallowed by the martial master's dantian the moment it entered his body, his expression changed slightly. Immediately after, he took out another elixir that emitted a fishy smell and forced it into the martial master's mouth. The result was the same as the first elixir that contained ordinary poison. The poison produced by the elixir was directly swallowed by the martial master's dantian. Xiang Wenxuan lowered his head and pondered for a while. Then he took out a red pill that was as red as blood. It clearly contained a huge amount of poison. Then, he gritted his teeth and fed it to the martial master. In the end, the result was the same as the first two elixirs. The poison produced by the elixir was directly swallowed by the martial master's dantian. Originally, when the martial master saw Xiang Wenxuan take out the third red pill, he thought that this pill had a special origin. He had already closed his eyes and waited for death to descend. However, in the end, not only did he not die from the poison, he didn't even feel any pain from the poison acting up. Opening his eyes, the martial master looked at Xiang Wenxuan with a face full of confusion. He didn't understand why the poison didn't kill him. Indicating for the martial master to stand to the side, Xiang Wenxuan's gaze fell on a martial ancestor realm cultivator present. Capture him. Qin Tianyi, who had been paying attention to Xiang Wenxuan, continued to instruct Senior Feng. After experimenting with different poison pills, the result was the same as the martial master realm cultivator. The only difference was that the martial ancestor realm cultivator's dantian not only swallowed the poison produced by the poison pill, but also the sea of consciousness, which nurtured the spiritual soul, also swallowed the poison produced by the poison pill. There was no need to use martial kings and martial monarchs to experiment. Xiang Wenxuan already knew the damage caused by the poison rain after it entered the body. After that, Xiang Wenxuan sat down cross-legged. As he carefully recalled the detoxification methods he was familiar with, he took out spiritual herbs of different attributes from his storage ring. There were spiritual herbs that could increase cultivation, and there were also spiritual herbs that contained poison. Then, he tried to refine a rumored elixir. Yu Haoran nodded in agreement with Xiang Wenxuan's method of testing the poison rain's power and effects on cultivators of different realms. Actually, most elixirs and alchemists had a misconception about how to detoxify unknown poisons. That was to analyze and detoxify the poison. Although this method was not wrong, it could easily cause a lack of time. In the end, it could cause the poison to explode and the poisoned person to die. Although using poison to fight poison could cause the poison to explode in advance or change the toxicity of the poison, through this method, one could basically understand the toxicity of the poison in the poisoned person in the shortest amount of time. From there, one could find a way to detoxify the poison in time. However, although Xiang Wenxuan's method of testing the poison rain was correct, based on his understanding of the way of poison, it would be difficult for him to find a way to detoxify the poison rain. Even if he invited the experts of the 5 poison sect who were good at using poison, it would be difficult to detoxify the poison rain in a short amount of time. In the end, it was because he had integrated his own methods of the way of poison into the poison rain. Seeing that Xiang Wenxuan had already begun to refine the detoxification elixir after careful consideration, Yu Haoran did not appear for the time being. Instead, he carefully looked at the poisoned people on the scene. In the end, he found a martial master who had not originally participated in Ru Yun's auction, but because he had said something to humiliate Ru Yun, he was deliberately targeted by Ru Yin. Chapter 552. Hidden Art Pavilion. Yu, what are you trying to do? When he saw Yu Haoran walking towards him and the black bear behind him, the martial master retreated as he asked in alarm, "What are you doing?" Not to mention that he had lost his origin power after being hit by the Snake Beauty's poisonous rain and was reduced to a defenseless ordinary person. Even if he was in perfect condition, he would still not be a match for a rank 5, 9th grade black bear. "What are you shouting for?" Yu Haoran glared and scolded gloomily. Afterwards, he signaled the black bear to press down on the opponent and took a drop of blood from his finger. First, he used his sight and smell to confirm that the poisonous rain had reached his target. Then, he used his taste to identify it. Finally, he confirmed that the poisonous rain that he had mixed with the Snake Beauty's poison in his previous life already possessed 70% of the power of the poison pill he had refined using the Snake Beauty's poison. "Do you want to recover your lost origin power?" Yu Haoran asked with a face full of smiles as he signaled the black bear to let go of the opponent. "Even in my dreams," nodding his head, the martial master looked at Yu Haoran with a face full of anticipation. Although he didn't know Yu Haoran's background, He was envious and jealous of the fact that he could tame a rank 5, ninth-grade black bear at such a young age. At the same time, he respected Yu Haoran's methods and courage to test the poison with his own body. Therefore, he didn't look down on Yu Haoran even though he was young. Instead, he looked forward to the youth in front of him being able to help him. Just you wait. Yu Haoran signaled the martial master to stay where he was, then signaled He Xiong to stand guard for him. He then sat down cross-legged and took out 9 stalks of spirit herbs that could increase one's cultivation and strength, as well as 9 stalks of poisonous spirit herbs from his storage ring. Immediately after, he took out the Saint-grade pill furnace left behind by the Saint Elixir Wondrous Venerate and started refining the antidote for the poisonous rain. Stalk after stalk of spiritual herbs were thrown into the pill furnace. Using origin power to activate the pill fire in the furnace, he refined and purified the spiritual liquid at the slowest speed possible. Then, he used a unique refining method to condense and form the pill. Even so, in less than 20 minutes, 9 sparkling and translucent pills the size of longans flew out of the pill furnace. With a wave of his sleeve, he collected the 9 pills and placed them into a pill bottle. Then he took out a pill and swallowed it. He carefully felt the medicinal power of the pill so that he could better carry out his plan. Take it. Yu Haoran nodded his head in satisfaction. Although the pill he had just refined was able to neutralize the poison, it could only neutralize 1/9 of the poison. Then, he took out a pill and tossed it to the martial master. Yu Haoran had already proven that the elixir was harmless by consuming himself. Therefore, the martial master who received the elixir immediately swallowed it. 3 seconds later, the martial master felt a trace of origin power emerge from his dantian. His face immediately revealed an expression of ecstasy. However, the ecstasy on his face only lasted for a minute before it was replaced by doubt. This was because the origin power that emerged from his dantian had reached the peak of 9th-grade martial master. No matter how he activated his mental cultivation method or directly absorbed the spiritual chi in the spirit stone, he could not continue to increase the origin power in his dantian. Senior, why is the origin power in my dantian only recovered to about 10%? The martial master asked anxiously. Yu Haoran nodded and said with a smile on his face, "The poison in the Snake Beauty's fangs is called seal crack. It is ranked 78th on the Profound Sky Continent's 100 poison ranking. If it wasn't because Ruin was afraid of angering Emperor Qin and diluted the seal crack's poison, you, a mere martial master, would have turned into a pool of blood long ago. Senior, I understand everything you just said. I just want to ask why the detoxification pill you refined can only recover about 10% of my origin power. Seeing that Yu Haoran only explained the power of the Snake Beauty's poison and did not mention the detoxification pill's effect, the martial master could not help but ask, "What's the hurry?" Yu Haoran glared fiercely at the other party and continued to explain. Even if it is diluted, the seal crack's poison is still very strong. It is definitely not something that 1 or 2 detoxification pills can neutralize. After saying this, Yu Haoran pressed his hand on the other party's dantian and carefully felt it for a while before explaining. In your situation, you still need to take 8 detoxification pills to completely neutralize the seal crack's poison. Senior, didn't you just refine 9 detoxification pills? Thinking that although Yu Haoran refined 9 detoxification pills, he had just used 1 to test the effects of the detoxification pill, he quickly changed his words. "Oh, no, I refined 8 detoxification pills. That's right, I did refine 9 detoxification pills. Apart from the one I swallowed and the one I just gave you, there are still 7 detoxification pills left." Nodding his head, Yu Haoran pretended to be puzzled as he looked at the other party. "I don't know if Senior can give the remaining 7 detoxification pills to Junior." Opening his mouth to ask for all the remaining detoxification pills was somewhat embarrassing for a martial master who was not very thick-skinned. However, in order to quickly recover his origin power, he could only thicken his skin and ask for it. "Junior, Hearing the other party directly ask for the detoxification pills, Yu Haoran immediately pretended to be distressed and said, "It's not like you didn't see the process of me refining the detoxification pills just now. Not to mention how precious the 9 stalks of spiritual medicine that can directly increase one's cultivation and strength are. Just the 9 stalks of spiritual medicine that contain poison are all rare spiritual medicine in the world. The 9 detoxification pills that I refined just now have already consumed half of my spiritual medicine reserves. My heart hurts. Senior, name a price." Every time he opened his mouth, he would only talk about how precious the spiritual medicine used to refine the detoxification pills were. The martial master was not a fool. How could he not understand the meaning behind Yu Haoran's words? Therefore, he directly asked Yu Haoran to name a price. Seeing that the other party was so tactful, Yu Haoran chuckled lightly. Then, he directly took out the 7 detoxification pills that he had just put away and pretended to be generous. "Junior, the detoxification pills that I gave you just now are considered experimental products. I won't charge any fees. As for the remaining 7 detoxification pills, you can name a price." Actually, Yu Haoran had quite a lot of the spiritual medicine needed to refine the detoxification pills in his storage ring in Victor. Although he did not dare to say that he could save everyone present, saving a third of the people would not be a problem. Chapter 553. Hidden Art Loft. Senior, although I have some family assets, you know my cultivation. I have no right to speak in the family, so I can't use the family's resources. Therefore, I can only take out 300,000 8th-stage, first-grade spirit stones at most. Directly asking him to name a price was even more vicious than asking for an exorbitant price. However, now that he had a favor to ask of the other party, he could only suppress the dissatisfaction in his heart and tell Yu Haoran about his situation, as well as his identity, to let Yu Haoran decide whether to make the deal. 300,000 is not even enough to buy half a stalk of spiritual medicine. Yu Haoran pretended to be in a difficult position as he spoke. Actually, when Yu Haoran chose the other party as the first person he saved, he knew that the other party would not be able to take out that many spirit stones. The reason why he chose to save him first was because he had his own thoughts. After pretending to be deep in thought for a while, Yu Haoran spoke directly. "How about this? I know that you're not doing well. I'm afraid that the resources worth 300,000 8th-level spirit stones are for you to break through to the martial ancestor realm. If I accept these spirit stones, it will definitely delay your breakthrough to the martial ancestor realm and even ruin your future as a peerless expert." At this point, Yu Haoran threw the pill bottle containing the 7 antidote pills to the other party and continued speaking. "I don't need your spirit stones or resources. I only need you to do 2 things for me. Please speak." After receiving the pill bottle containing the antidote pills, the martial master did not immediately swallow the pills, nor did he reveal a happy smile on his face. Instead, he asked solemnly, "The first thing is to use the 7 pills I just gave you to help me announce the method to cure the beauty snake venom rain. The second thing is to use the opportunity of curing the beauty snake venom rain to help me collect the precious spiritual medicine in Xianyang City." Hearing Yu Haoran's 2 conditions, the martial master thought for a while, then looked straight into Yu Haoran's eyes and asked, "Then what about the poison in my body? After the matter is settled, I will give you the remaining 8 detoxification pills." Yu Haoran promised. "My surname is Hu, and my given name is Bing. I come from a mediocre Hu family in the north of Xianyang City. The strongest person in the family is the first elder, who is at the peak of the 7th grade of the martial royal realm." Although the martial master didn't directly reply to Yu Haoran's request, his detailed self-introduction indicated that he agreed to work for Yu Haoran. "My name is Yu Haoran. I'm from the 2nd-rate sect, the 100 Chi Gate. I'm currently the vice sect master. I've come to Xianyang City to participate in the Qin Alliance Conference. I'm currently staying in the Qingya Pavilion of the Qingyuan Guild Hall." After introducing himself in detail, Yu Haoran turned around and left the Hidden Art Pavilion. As for the spiritual stones for the 3 auction items, he believed that Feng Yun and Jiang Yin, who were poisoned by the beautiful snake's poison, would deliver them to him without taking a single cent. Seeing Yu Haoran turn around and leave, Hu Bing lowered his head and looked at the pills in his hand. A bitter smile appeared on his face as he sighed. Although I, Hu Bing, don't have a high cultivation, there aren't many people who can convince me. Yu Haoran, you're the second person who can convince me. You're amazing. The agreement just now didn't include any promises made to each other, nor did it include an oath made according to the rules of heaven. Hu Bing could have taken the detoxification pills for himself and left Xianyang City temporarily. After Yu Haoran finished participating in the Qin Alliance conference and had to leave Xianyang City, he could have swaggered back. However, Yu Haoran had used his unique alchemy method to refine the detoxification pills that required 9 pills to completely detoxify the beautiful snake's poison. If he dared to keep the detoxification pills for himself, he would only be able to recover less than 90% of his origin power without 1 detoxification pill. Under such circumstances, it would be impossible for him to break through to the martial ancestor realm. Furthermore, judging from Yu Haoran's alchemy method and speed when he was refining the detoxification pills in front of him, Hu Bing knew that Yu Haoran's alchemy cultivation was probably not inferior to that of the pill emperor with a broken arm, Xiang Wenshuan, who was still refining pills. Therefore, Hu Bing was even more worried that the lack of 1 detoxification pill would cause the poison in his body to mutate. The final outcome might be a fate worse than death. Therefore, Yu Haoran did not need any means to restrain him. Just by relying on the missing antidote pill, Yu Haoran was able to firmly control him. How could he not be convinced by such means? Sigh. Hu Bing couldn't help but sigh. He raised his head and looked around. Due to his personality and background, he tried his best to stay away from the crowd when he escaped from the destroyed auction house. At the same time, everyone's attention was focused on the pill emperor with a broken arm, who was refining the detoxification pill. As a result, Yu Haoran's refining of pills and their discussion just now didn't attract anyone's attention. Taking a deep breath, he walked toward the pill emperor with a broken arm who was refining the detoxification pill. At the same time, he was thinking about how to perfectly complete the task Yu Haoran had given him. After standing still 20 meters away from the pill emperor with a broken arm in a safe zone, Hu Bing closed his eyes and didn't act rashly for the time being. Now, he still needed to wait. He needed to wait until the pill emperor with a broken arm, Xiang Wenshuan's detoxification pill, failed to cure the snake beauty's poison. Only then could he announce that Yu Haoran had the ability to cure the snake beauty's poison. The waiting time wasn't very long. It was only a little more than 10 minutes. As the pill emperor with a broken arm, Xiang Wenshuan shouted and formed a core. 5 Longan-sized pills flew out of the pill furnace and were put away by Xiang Wenshuan. Shaking his head, Hu Bing felt a little disappointed at the pill emperor's level of refining the pills. Although Hu Bing's cultivation progress wasn't fast due to his talent and potential, his adventurous nature allowed him to dabble in many things, including the alchemy Dao. Similarly, due to his talent, he hadn't truly stepped into the alchemy Dao. However, he had his own unique understanding of the levels, standards, and abilities of alchemists. Judging from the speed of refining pills, the number of pills formed, and the color of the pills, the detoxification pill refined by the pill emperor with a broken arm was much worse than Yu Haoran's. "You come here." After putting away the pill furnace, Xiang Wenshuan called out to the martial master who had been the first to check the snake beauty's poison. Although he didn't want to be Xiang Wenshuan's first test subject, he could only sigh and walk over to Xiang Wenshuan dejectedly under the watchful gazes of the crowd. "Here," Xiang Wenshuan said as he handed over the detoxification pill he had just refined. "If I die, I die." The martial master reached out and took the detoxification pill from Xiang Wenshuan. Then he encouraged himself before swallowing the detoxification pill. After waiting for a full minute, he still didn't die. His body didn't feel any abnormalities either. Chapter 554. Hidden Elegance Loft. AI. As a peak pill emperor, Xiang Wenxuan did not need to check carefully to know that the antidote he had just refined was useless against the snake beauty's poison. Shaking his head and sighing, Xiang Wenxuan turned and walked in front of Qin Wui, his tone full of apology. "Your Highness, I'm very sorry. Regarding the snake beauty's poison, this old man is powerless. Senior Xiang, can't you think of other methods, or send a message to the Medicine King Valley and ask if the Valley's pill masters have any methods?" Qin Tianyi asked, unwilling to give up. "Your Highness, in terms of pill Dao cultivation, there are many in the Valley who surpass this old man. However, in terms of understanding of poison, I'm afraid that even the Valley Lord and the Great Elder are inferior to me." Shaking his head, Xiang Wenxuan said with a bitter smile. Then he suggested, "However, Your Highness, with the strength and influence of the Grand Qin Empire, you're entirely capable of asking the poison experts of the Five Poison Sect. I presume they ought to have a way to remove or alleviate the toxicity of the beauty snake's poison." Facing Xiang Wenxuan's suggestion, Qin Tianyi really did not know how to answer. Firstly, the Five Poison Sect was in the distant southern border, close to billions of kilometers away from the Emperor Qin. Even if a peak 9th grade martial saint traveled day and night, a round trip would take close to 2 months. In such a long time, no one knew whether the snake beauty's poison would flare up. Secondly, it was precisely because the Five Poison Sect was too far away from the Grand Qin Empire that both sides didn't have any exchange of benefits, nor did they have any conflicts of interest. They weren't very familiar with each other, so no one knew if the Five Poison Sect would dispatch a poison Dao expert to assist them. Could it be that I, the third prince of the Emperor Qin's kingdom, the one who will inherit the throne in the future, the one who will lead millions of people to conquer the world, will fall just like this? Looking up at the blue sky, Qin Tianyi was like a defeated person, her heart filled with endless frustration and loss. "Third brother, you don't need to worry. I will go to the palace now and beg Father to help you remove the poison in your body." Feeling Qin Tianyi gradually losing her fighting spirit, Ling Fei said with a sad expression, "Ninth sister, thank you." Looking at Ling Fei lovingly, Qin Tianyi shook her head and stopped her from pleading with Emperor Qin. Not to mention whether or not Emperor Qin could neutralize the snake beauty's poison. Just based on his current situation, he was afraid that the court officials and his brothers would not let him get close to his father. There was only one reason. He was afraid that the poison in his body would infect Emperor Qin, who had the body of 10,000 sovereigns. Turning her head to look at Meng Sheng, who was still sitting in the dust, Qin Tianyi reached out and pulled Ling Fei's hand, intending to leave Hidden Art Pavilion. At this moment, Hu Bing, who felt that it was about time, suddenly walked in front of Xiang Wenxuan. He handed over a detoxification pill that he had prepared in advance to Xiang Wenxuan and said with a respectful expression, "Senior Pill Sovereign, please take a look at this pill and see if it can neutralize the snake beauty's poison." How could a mere martial master realm cultivator's detoxification pill be able to neutralize the poison that was ranked 78th on the Tianxian continent's 100 poison ranking? Therefore, Xiang Wenxuan originally did not want to pay attention to Hu Bing, who had suddenly stepped forward. However, when he inadvertently smelled the special scent of the pill in Hu Bing's hand, his expression changed slightly. He quickly took the pill from Hu Bing's hand and carefully observed it. After observing for almost a minute, Xiang Wenxuan stared at Hu Bing with a serious expression and asked, "Young man, who gave you this detoxification pill?" As the hand-broken pill sovereign, whose cultivation in the art of alchemy was already at the peak of the Grandmaster realm, he could tell that this pill had just been refined just by looking at the color and scent of the pill. Moreover, the alchemist who had refined this pill was not inferior to him in terms of alchemy. There were not many alchemists in the Tianxian continent, and those who had reached the Grandmaster realm in the art of alchemy were even rarer. Therefore, everyone knew each other and understood the characteristics of each other's pills. However, this pill was refined using a method that he had never seen before. In other words, he did not know the alchemist who had refined this pill. However, in the entire Tianxian continent, regardless of whether it was a wandering alchemist or an alchemist from the alliance of the devil Tao. Xiang Wenxuan knew all of them. Therefore, compared to whether this pill could neutralize the snake beauty's poison, Xiang Wenxuan was more concerned about who the owner of this pill was. He was looking forward to meeting this alchemist whose alchemy skills were not inferior to his own. The owner who gave me this medicinal pill once warned me not to reveal his origins for the time being. First, I'll let you take a look at the quality of this medicinal pill and whether or not it can neutralize the snake beauty's poison. Faced with Xiang Wenxuan's shout, Hu Bing replied without the slightest bit of fear. Huff! Xiang Wenxuan took a deep breath and suppressed his urge to meet the alchemist grandmaster. He shouted at the martial master who had tested his detoxification pill. You come here! Seeing that he had become Xiang Wenxuan's test subject for the third time, the martial master felt like dying at this moment. If it weren't for the fact that he had lost his Yuan Li and was unable to commit suicide by severing his own arteries, he would have definitely expressed his righteousness to Xiang Wenxuan and everyone present. After expressing that he was not afraid of threats, he would have generously sacrificed himself. Of course, if it was just an if, the unarmed and defenseless Qin Wui could only walk in front of Xiang Wenxuan with a dejected expression. Then, he took the pill from Xiang Wenxuan's hand and swallowed it without hesitation. In just 3 seconds, the originally dejected martial master's face immediately revealed a trace of pleasant surprise as he shouted, Yuan Li, I can feel the Yuan Li in my dantian. Qin Wui, who had been walking away with disappointment, suddenly heard the martial master's ecstatic shouts behind him. He hurriedly turned around and stared at the martial master. In fact, it was not only Qin Tianyi. Everyone present, regardless of whether it was those who had been struck dumb on the spot or those who had already accepted the cruel reality like Qin Tianyi, all raised their heads and turned around at the same time to stare at the martial master who had just shouted to recover his Yuan Li. After a minute, the Yuan Li that had recovered with great difficulty suddenly stopped moving when it had recovered more than 10%. This made the martial master very puzzled. Following that, he took out a level 7 spirit stone from his storage bag, intending to use the spirit chi within the spirit stone to completely recover his lost Yuan Li. Seeing that the martial master intended to use the spirit stone to recover his Yuan Li, a disdainful sneer flashed across Hu Bing's heart. This was because he had already tried this method long ago, but it was completely useless. Chapter 555. Hidden Art Pavilion. Senior Alchemy Emperor, what's going on? The martial master looked up at Xiang Wenxuan and asked with a puzzled expression. Xiang Wenxuan, who had been using his divine sense to observe the entire process of the detoxification pill, was also frowning. He couldn't figure out the situation in the martial master's body. Then, he turned his head to look at Hu Bing and asked, Do you still have that detoxification pill on you? Here. Hu Bing took out a detoxification pill that he had prepared and handed it to Xiang Wenxuan. Xiang Wenxuan didn't use others to test the effects of the detoxification pill. Instead, he swallowed it himself. With regards to Xiang Wenxuan's actions, Hu Bing and everyone present couldn't help but feel boundless admiration in their hearts. After all, the detoxification pill that could detoxify the snake beauty's poison had a certain degree of toxicity. To be able to test the poison with his own body showed that Xiang Wenxuan was a person who was truly obsessed with alchemy. A person like him might not be as good as those geniuses and monsters in terms of martial arts, but his achievements in alchemy would definitely surpass those geniuses and monsters. Profound alchemy techniques, exquisite and peerless methods to intercept spiritual energy. This person's cultivation may not be as high as mine, but his understanding of alchemy has already far surpassed mine. Xiang Wenxuan opened his eyes and sighed with a face full of admiration. Senior Xiang, could the detoxification pill just now be able to detoxify the snake beauty's poison? Qin Tianyi wasn't interested in Xiang Wenxuan's sigh. What he wanted to know the most was whether the detoxification pill provided by Hu Bing could restore his origin power and divine soul. Qin Tianyi's question was also the concern of those who had been poisoned by the snake beauty's poison. They all looked at Xiang Wenxuan nervously, hoping to get the answer they were looking for from his mouth. Yes, Xiang Wenxuan nodded and confirmed. Boy, do you still have any detoxification pills on you? If you give them to me now, I'll guarantee you a life of wealth and safety. After receiving Xiang Wenxuan's confirmation, Qin Tianyi immediately made a promise to Hu Bing. Boy, give me your detoxification pill. I can let you become a member of the Meng clan and enjoy the treatment of a direct descendant. Meng Sheng, whose status and position was second only to Qin Tianyi, also made a promise that made countless people envious and jealous. Little friend, if you can give us the antidote, our heavenly fragrance pavilion can give you unimaginable spirit stones, pills, beauties, and cultivation resources. Feng Yun, who also saw hope, hurriedly led Jiang Yin to promise Hu Bing. Young man, friend. As long as the people present had a certain amount of power and wealth, and had been poisoned by the beauty snake's venom, they all made promises to Hu Bing that he would never be able to make in his entire life. But in the face of these people's promises, Hu Bing turned a blind eye to Xiang Wenxuan. He wanted to see if Xiang Wenxuan could identify the flaw in Yu Haoran's detoxification pill. The people who were originally respectful to him immediately threw him to the back of their minds after receiving his confirmation. While Xiang Wenxuan felt the hypocrisy of the world, he had no choice but to do his duty and remind them. After all, he had personally confirmed the efficacy of the detoxification pill, but he had yet to clearly explain the flaws of the detoxification pill. Everyone, please listen to this old man. Unfortunately, the people who were anxious to obtain the detoxification pill were not in the mood to pay attention to Xiang Wenxuan, so no one paid attention to his reminder. Xiang Wenxuan, who had been treated coldly, could not help but feel a trace of anger rise in his heart. If it were not for the fact that he wanted to see the pill master who had refined the detoxification pill through Hu Bing, he would have already left. Everyone, please listen to me. Hu Bing, who had been looking at Xiang Wenxuan, naturally saw the anger that flashed across his face. Xiang Wenxuan was the key to successfully completing the task given to him by Yu Haoran, so he was worried that Xiang Wenxuan would leave angrily. So Hu Bing hurriedly signaled for everyone to be quiet. Speak. As the most distinguished person present, Qin Wui was duty-bound to be the one to talk to Hu Bing. The person who gave me the detoxification pill once said that the detoxification pill had an unavoidable flaw. Hu Bing said solemnly. Elder Xiang, is that true? After hearing Hu Bing's reminder, Qin Tianyi subconsciously turned his head and asked Xiang Wenxuan. Xiang Wenxuan was finally able to see the humanity of the imperial family. Furthermore, the Medicine King Valley had a special status and was at the peak of the Grandmaster realm, so he did not need to curry favor with any power. Therefore, his originally polite attitude towards Qin Wui was much more casual. The detoxification pill refined by this pill master cannot be said to have a flaw. It should be said that in order to better unleash the medicinal power of the detoxification pill, the medicinal power of the detoxification pill was distributed among the 9 pills. Seeing the confusion on everyone's faces, Xiang Wenxuan continued to explain. The meaning is very simple. The detoxification pill refined by this pill master can not only neutralize the snake beauty's poison, but also has no side effects. The only troublesome thing is that 9 detoxification pills are required to completely neutralize the snake beauty's poison in one's body and restore one's Yuan Lian soul. After hearing Xiang Wenxuan's more detailed explanation, everyone present heaved a sigh of relief. As long as they could neutralize the snake beauty's poison and regain the strength of a martial ancestor, martial king, martial emperor, and martial saint, they would be willing to take even 90 detoxification pills, let alone 9 detoxification pills. The only difference was that it would cost more. Young friend, 1 million level 8 spirit stones in exchange for 1 detoxification pill. Give me 126 detoxification pills first. The rich and overbearing Feng Yun took the initiative to make a request to purchase detoxification pills from Hu Bing. Furthermore, he had directly traded 126 detoxification pills in one go. The total value of 120 million level 8 spirit stones made Hu Bing secretly shocked. Feng Yin had no choice but to trade so many detoxification pills in one go. Deputy Pavilion Master Jiang Yin and his only granddaughter, Xiao Mei, had to neutralize the Snake Beauty's poison. The three martial saints were the foundation of the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion's hidden art yard. They had to maintain their peak strength at all times and neutralize the Snake Beauty's poison. Since the three martial sages were poisoned by the beauty snake's venom, the 8 martial emperors, who were also guarding the hidden art loft and had to deal with many of their troubles, couldn't disappoint these people. Therefore, he had directly traded 126 detoxification pills in one go. Chapter 556. Hidden Art Loft. Perhaps it was because Feng Yin had asked for too many antidote pills, but the crowd was worried that Hu Bing did not have enough antidote pills, which would delay the treatment of the Snake Beauty's poison. Therefore, the crowd joined forces to boycott Feng Yin. Qin Tianyi, the emperor of the Qin kingdom, was the first to protest. You want to buy an antidote pill that can cure the Snake Beauty's poison, ranked 78th on the Tianxin continent's 100 poisons, ranking for a mere 1 million first-grade 8th-level spirit stones? Feng Yin, you are too naive. After ridiculing Feng Yin with disdain, Qin Tianyi turned to Hu Bing and ordered, "Boy, 10 million first-grade 8th-level spirit stones in exchange for one antidote pill." Seeing that Qin Tianyi directly increased the transaction price of the detoxification pill by 10 times, Feng Yin was so angry that he almost wanted to teach him a lesson. However, when he remembered that Qin Tianyi was one of the most valued princes of the Emperor Qin and had more power in Xianyang City than the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion, Feng Yin could only swallow his anger and did not know what to say. Third Prince is right. Only 10 million first-grade 8th-level spirit stones are worth the price of an antidote pill. A peak 9th-level martial king from family in Xianyang City agreed. That's right. We can still take out 90 million first-grade 8th-level spirit stones. Seeing the crowd boycott the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion's Feng Yin and automatically set the price of the detoxification pill at 10 million 8th-grade, first-grade spirit stones. Hu Bing couldn't help but guess how much wealth Yu Haoran would obtain by using this opportunity to cure the beauty snake's poison. However, now is not the time to think about wealth. He needed to announce Yu Haoran's methods to the crowd and raise Yu Haoran's reputation in Xianyang City. Everyone, Hu Bing gestured with his hands. I was fortunate enough to see the process of the pill master refining the antidote pill. I am very clear about the amount of spiritual herbs and time needed to refine the antidote pill, as well as the final number of pills. At this point, Hu Bing could not help but sigh and reveal a pained expression. A pill that can neutralize the beauty snake's venom. Just the supplementary medicinal ingredients alone number in the dozens, not to mention the main ingredient whose origin I can't even recognize. Moreover, even with that alchemy grandmaster's exquisite alchemy skills, it took him almost an hour to barely form 9 pills. At this point, Hu Bing took out the pill bottle that contained the antidote pill and explained to everyone. 9 completed pills. Just like the hand-breaking pill emperor, that pill Dao grandmaster used up 2 pills to test the pill himself. It's the same for me and this brother here. We were the first to test the effects of the detoxification pill. So, I only have 5 detoxification pills left. Hearing Hu Bing's explanation and looking at the pill bottle in his hand, the joyous expressions of the crowd instantly turned ugly. Fortunately, Qin Tianyi quickly calmed down and thought of the key to the problem. "Brat, who are you?" Qin Tianyi asked, replying to Third Highness. "This kid's name is Hu Bing, from the Hu family of the North City." Seeing Emperor Qin Tianyi ask about his origin, Hu Bing hurriedly introduced. "Do you want to be a civil official or a military official?" The Hu family of the North City of Xianyang. After thinking for a while, Qin Tianyi found that he had no impression of this family at all. This also meant that the Hu family was a small family, and Hu Bing's humble background was just right for him to rope him in and get the antidote pill as soon as possible. Civil official. military official. Hu Bing raised his head and looked at Qin Tianyi with a shocked expression on his face. He had studied hard for more than 10 years, and now he was looking forward to the future. Ever since he came of age and participated in the family's talent test and learned that his achievements in martial arts were limited in this life, Hu Bing aimed his life's struggle at an official career. At the same time, the famous left prime minister of the great Emperor Qin's kingdom was also a person with average talent and potential. However, he had won the favor of the Emperor Qin through his ability to govern the country and enjoyed treatment that was not inferior to that of a martial saint expert. Now, how could Hu Bing not be willing to go through the relatively old-fashioned imperial examination system of the great Emperor Qin's kingdom and directly advance to an official career? Replying to the third prince, I want to be a civil official. Get 9 antidote pills for this prince. You can choose any 6th-grade official position in the Supreme Court or the Ministry of Justice. Qin Tianyi promised rather domineeringly. I dare not give your highness 100% guarantee. I can only say that I will do my best. Hu Bing was not surprised by Qin Tianyi's conditions. He also knew why he could be treated differently by the emperor of the Qin kingdom. But thinking of Yu Haoran's strength and means, he did not dare to boast to Qin Tianyi. If he could not do it and delayed Qin Tianyi's time to detoxify the snake beauty's poison, then the sin was not something he could bear alone. Remember to send the antidote pills to the E-Palace. Qin Tianyi ordered with a nod. Although Hu Bing did not give a 100% guarantee, which made Qin Tianyi slightly disappointed, his performance just now showed that he was a meticulous person. Whether he went to the Supreme Court or became an official in the Ministry of Justice, he would be suitable for the responsibilities of both positions. In this way, those courtiers and brothers who wanted to attack him would have no excuse to do so. I know, Hu Bing responded with a nod. Hu Bing, although I can't give you an official position like Brother Tianyi, I can guarantee your safety on behalf of the Meng family. Seeing that Qin Tianyi had won the antidote pills through his identity as the emperor, the shrewd Meng Sheng naturally knew how to use his own advantages to guarantee Hu Bing's safety. My only request is that you immediately take me to see the pill master. Thank you, young Master Meng Sheng. With an official position and a guarantee of safety, Hu Bing was excited. He had to thank Yu Haoran from the bottom of his heart for giving him the opportunity to work for him. Hu Bing, this is a token that represents the identity of a distinguished guest of the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion. As long as you have this token, you can enjoy a 50% discount on any branch of the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion in the Tianxin continent. You can even use the method of paying spirit stones to mobilize the experts of the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion. After seeing Qin Tianyi and Meng Sheng's methods, the shrewd Feng Yin hurriedly used his own methods to rope in Hu Bing. Next, Hu Bing received 10 promises of safety, more than 20 precious treasures, and more than 30 invitations to visit. Chapter 557. Hidden Art Pavilion. Everyone, this humble one will now bring you to meet the Pill Master. Ecstatic, Hu Bing put away the treasures and began to fulfill his promise. He brought everyone who had been poisoned to the Qingyuan Guild Hall to meet Yu Haoran. Although I have never met the pill master who can refine the antidote pill, I can see that this person has a straightforward and upright personality from the antidote pill he refined. Xiang Wenxuan, who was also following the crowd to the Qingyuan Guild Hall, quickened his pace and spoke softly to Hu Bing. Kid, you're on your own now. After leaving behind a warning, Xiang Wenxuan slowed down and took the initiative to fall behind Hu Bing. Xiang Wenxuan's warning echoed in Hu Bing's ears. The originally smug Hu Bing seemed to have been splashed with a bucket of cold water, and he immediately sobered up. That's right. Those people had given him promises of safety and treasures because they had mistakenly believed that he had won the pill master's trust. Their goal was to obtain the antidote pill as soon as possible so that they could cure the snake beauty's poison. If Yu Haoran found out that he had taken advantage of the opportunity to work for him to receive benefits, he would definitely offend Yu Haoran. If Yu Haoran no longer needed him to work for him, then wouldn't those people who had given him promises and treasures chop him into pieces? Thinking of this, Hu Bing slowed down his pace and began to think about how to resolve the crisis he was facing. In front of the Qingyuan Guild Hall, an abnormally exhausted Gong Yiyuan sat cross-legged under a large tree more than 10 meters away from the Qingyuan Guild Hall. In front of him were 3 simple copper coins. The 3 copper coins stood up and fell down from time to time. When the copper coin stood up, Gong Yiyuan's face would reveal a joyful smile. When the copper coins fell down, Gong Yiyuan's face would reveal a nervous expression. It wasn't until an hour ago that Gong Yiyuan finally let out a sigh of relief when the 3 copper coins didn't fall down. Afterward, he put away the 3 copper coins and took out 3 6th-grade spirit stones from his storage bracelet. Then, he strode toward the vermilion doors of the Qingyuan Guild Hall. Bang! 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 After smashing the vermilion doors 3 times, Gong Yiyuan took 3 steps back. "It's you again. Didn't I tell you?" "Brother, this is just a small token of my appreciation. I'll have to trouble you to go and inform them," Gong Yiyuan said with a smile as he stuffed 3 6th-stage first-grade spirit stones into the hands of his companions. Alas, glancing at the 6th-grade first-grade spirit stone in his hand, the hall partner sighed softly and put away the spirit stone while speaking to Gong Yiyuan. "It's not that I'm being unreasonable, but your 100 Chi Gates vice sect leader, you has already left through the secret door." "I know." To his companion's surprise, Gong Yuan did not show the slightest bit of disappointment after receiving the news that Yu Haoran had left long ago. Instead, he smiled and said, "Brother, because of my talent and hobbies, I'm quite good at divination. An hour ago, I've already returned to the Qingyuan Guild Hall as the vice sect master. Otherwise, I wouldn't have troubled you to make a trip there." Hearing that Gong Yiyuan was actually good at divination, the hall partner immediately felt a sense of respect, and his attitude towards Gong Yiyuan became much friendlier. "Since that's the case, please wait a moment. I'll go take a look now." Seeing the sudden change in attitude of his companions, Gong Yiyuan regretted it so much that he almost slapped himself. Why didn't he say that he had such a method that was valued by his companions earlier? That way, he wouldn't have lost the precious 6th-grade, first-grade spirit stone, and he wouldn't have had to lower himself to curry favor with a hall partner. Signaling Gong Yiyuan to wait at the door, the hall partner turned around and was about to enter the hall when he inadvertently saw a group of people walking quickly towards the Qingyuan Guild Hall. Moreover, the young man walking at the front was known as the leader of the 4 young masters of Xianying City, Meng Sheng from the number 1 aristocratic family in Xianying City. "Greetings, young Master Sheng." Seeing Meng Sheng rushing over, the hall partner seemed to have forgotten that he had just promised to report for Gong Yiyuan. He rushed in front of Meng Sheng and knelt down on one knee. "You may rise," Meng Sheng said expressionlessly. "Young Master Meng Sheng, why have you come to the Qingyuan Guild Hall?" After getting up, the hall partner hurriedly asked in a fawning manner. Meng Sheng looked at Hu Bing. "I'll have to trouble you to report to the 100 Chi Gates vice sect leader that Hu Bing requests an audience." Without Meng Sheng's background as the number 1 aristocratic family, Hu Bing politely requested the hall partner of the Qingyuan Guild Hall. "Vice sect leader Yu." Looking at Hu Bing and Meng Sheng, the hall partner hurriedly nodded and signaled Meng Sheng to wait at the door. He turned around and went straight into the hall. Seeing the difference between the way the hall partner treated him and the way they treated the young man called Meng Sheng, Gong Yiyuan felt incomparably humiliated. At the same time, he secretly swore in his heart. He swore that when he became stronger, he would return to Xianying City and make these people who had looked down on him kneel at his feet. Although he had temporarily lost his spirit and yuan power due to the Snake Beauty's poison, as a top genius, Meng Sheng's sharp senses did not disappear. The hostility he suddenly felt made him follow his senses. Very quickly, he saw Gong Yiyuan staring at him with a face full of resentment. In response, Meng Sheng could not help but sneer. However, he did not pay attention to him. This was because there was no need for Meng Sheng to personally deal with a small character like Gong Yiyuan. He only needed to give a glance, and someone would take care of it for him. Qingya Pavilion. After returning to the Qingya Pavilion through the secret door, Yu Haoran did not return to his room. Instead, He sat on the stone chair in the pavilion in the courtyard and began to consider his next plan. Refining the antidote for the snake beauty's poison was only the first step of his plan. Letting Hu Bing make a name for himself was the second step of his plan. The third step was the most important part of the entire plan. Closing his eyes, he carefully calculated every step of his plan. After confirming that there were no mistakes, Yu Haoran opened his eyes. Then he took out a blank jade strip from his storage ring and directly sent it into Victor. Faling, do me a favor. Speak. With the help of the Earth Spirit Flower, Faling's spirit had recovered to the peak of 9th grade martial revered realm. Use your divine sense to help me record the origin and grade of 108 spiritual herbs in the jade strip. Yu Haoran instructed. Fame not only required word of mouth, it also required a major event that would shake the entire city. Therefore, Yu Haoran decided to take advantage of everyone's urgent need for the antidote and have them collect 108 spiritual herbs for him. Then, with Xiang Wenxuan's help, he would refine an exceptional pill that would shake the entire Xianyang city. Chapter 558. Qingyuan Guild Hall, Qingyu Pavilion. Speak, Faling said as he condensed his spiritual will into a pen. Rank 5, Grade 9 Sky Phoenix Grass. Rank 5, Grade 9 Lifebone Flower. Rank 5, Grade 9 Purple Monkey Flower. Rank 5. Yu Haoran heaved a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to continue, the tower spirit couldn't help but interrupt him and ask, "What are you talking about?" Yu Haoran, these 36 spiritual herbs are all rank 5, Grade 9 spiritual herbs, and a lifebone flower is a very rare spiritual herb. What do you want to do with these spiritual herbs? Refine a pill. Yu Haoran replied. What kind of pill? Faling asked immediately. Rank 5, Grade 9 5 Life Mysterious Pill. What? When the tower spirit heard Yu Haoran mention the name of the pill, it thought that it had heard wrongly and could not help but ask. Rank 5, Grade 9 5 Life Mysterious Pill. Yu Haoran repeated. Is it the 5 Life Mysterious Pill that is said to be able to break through the mysterious door, stimulate one's unlimited potential, and use the dream to reincarnate 5 times? Faling asked word by word. That's right. Yu Haoran nodded and confirmed. You? Faling couldn't help but question. In fact, Faling couldn't be blamed for doubting Yu Haoran's ability to refine pills. The 5 Life Mysterious Pill, also known as the Dream Returning Pill, could allow one to use the dream to reincarnate 5 times. It was the top pill in Tianxin continent to improve one's state of mind. Although the 5 Life Mysterious Pill was only rank 5, Grade 9, the difficulty of refining it was no less than a rank 4 pill. Rank 4 pills belonged to the alchemy grandmasters. Yu Haoran didn't have the qualifications or the ability to interfere. Of course, I can't do it by myself. However, with the assistance of the peak alchemy grandmaster Xiang Wenxuan, the pill furnace left behind by the pill Saint Miao Zun, and the special alchemy technique that I have mastered, I have a 50% chance of refining the 5 Lives Profound Gate pill. After hearing Yu Haoran's plan and thoughts, and considering Xiang Wenxuan's alchemy skills as a peak alchemy grandmaster, as well as Yu Haoran's outstanding talent in alchemy, Faling knew that Xiang Wenxuan's decision must have been made after careful consideration. Furthermore, Yu Haoran did not need to personally gather the spiritual herbs needed to refine the 5 Lives Mysterious Gate pill. Even if the refinement failed in the end, he would not suffer any losses. Therefore, Faling did not continue to question or ask. He only signaled to Yu Haoran to continue dictating the required elixirs. Level 5 Grade 9 Swift Windgrass. 5th Tier 9th Grade Earth Yellow Spirit. Bang, bang, bang. Just as Yu Haoran had just finished dictating the 108 elixirs, someone suddenly knocked on the courtyard door. Come in. Yu Haoran said, faintly after receiving the jade slip that Faling had recorded with his mind. Greetings, Deputy Sect Leader Yu. Pushing the door open and entering the courtyard, the guild hall companion greeted respectfully. You're welcome. Waving his hand, Yu Haoran asked, What's the matter? Deputy Sect Leader Yu. There's a person named Hu Bing outside the guild hall who wants to see you. The guild hall companion said. Only him. Yu Haoran raised his eyebrows slightly and asked, "No, there is also Meng Sheng, the only son of the patriarch of the Meng clan and the important figures of several major forces in Xianyang City." The Guildhall companion quickly explained, "Let Hu Bing come first." Although he did not hear Qin Tiany's name, Meng Sheng's personal visit was enough to complete his plan. Therefore, Yu Haoran was quite satisfied with Hu Bing's ability to do things. That's right. After hearing Yu Haoran's instructions, the club's partner turned around and was about to leave the Qingyao Pavilion. However, he suddenly remembered Gong Yin, who had just given him 3 6 Great Spirit Stones and was good at divination. So he quickly turned around and asked, "Deputy Sect Leader Yu, there is a person named Gong Yuyuan outside the guild hall. He said that he is a disciple of your 100 Qi Gate and also the deputy envoy to attend the Qin Alliance meeting. I don't know if he's a fake." "That's right. Gong Yuyuan is definitely a disciple of our 100 Qi Gate." Nodding his head, Yu Haoran thought for a moment and felt that it was not good to let outsiders see the disharmony within the 100 Qi Gate. Finally, he decided to let Gong Yuyuan come in first. "Please let Gong Yuyuan and Hu Bing come in together." "Yes." The guild hall companion responded and turned to leave the courtyard. Not long after, the guild hall companion brought Hu Bing and Gong Yuyuan into Qingyao Pavilion. After seeing Gong Yuyuan's red eyes and exhausted face, Yu Haoran sighed softly, then pointed to the west wing and said, "Choose a room for yourself to rest." "Thank you." Glaring at Yu Haoran, Gong Yun gritted his teeth and thanked him. "No need." Ignoring Gong Yuyuan's resentful gaze, Yu Haoran indifferently indicated. After Gong Yuyuan chose his room and closed the door to rest, Yu Haoran ordered Hu Bing, "Tell me what happened after I left Sanya Pavilion." "Deputy Sect Leader Yu, I'm sorry." Without immediately telling what happened after he left Sanya Pavilion, Hu Bing directly knelt in front of Yu Haoran and apologized in a frightened tone. "Say it." Yu Haoran frowned. He was afraid that Hu Bing would mess up his plan and asked fiercely, "I was blinded by greed and greedy for glory and wealth. I accepted." After that, Hu Bing told Yu Haoran about accepting Qin Tiany's official position, the token of Tianxiang Pavilion's VIP, the promise of Meng Sheng and the others in the treasures. He also placed the gifts he had just received on the stone table. After hearing Hu Bing's explanation, Yu Haoran secretly sighed in relief. He knew that Hu Bing did not ruin his plan. At the same time, he remembered that he and Hu Bing were only in a cooperative relationship. After he finished attending the Qin Alliance meeting and left Xianyang City, the two of them would never cross paths again. Therefore, Yu Haoran was not angry and did not care about Hu Bing taking advantage of the opportunity to receive benefits. However, when he saw the dark blue token on the stone table, a sneer appeared on his face. "Hu Bing, except for this dark blue token that represents Tianxiang Pavilion's VIP status, I will temporarily borrow it for half a day. You can keep the other things." Yu Haoran directly picked out the dark blue token and indicated, "Yes." Seeing that Yu Haoran did not care about his mistakes, Hu Bing secretly sighed in relief. He then stood up and obediently kept the treasures on the stone table. "Hu Bing, the space in Qingyao Pavilion is limited. I can't receive everyone who has been poisoned by the beauty snake. According to your understanding of those people, help me choose 10 of the most honorable people and let them come in to see me." Yu Haoran ordered as he placed the dark blue token on the stone table again. "Yes." Nodding his head, Hu Bing turned and left Qingyao Pavilion while thinking about who to choose next. "All right, at the same time, let the half-handed pill Emperor Xiang come in." Just as Hu Bing was about to step out of the courtyard, Yu Haoran suddenly ordered. Chapter 559. Qingyuan Guild Hall, Qingyao Pavilion. Yu Haoran, logically speaking, the first person you should invite should be Xiang Wenshuan. After all, he is your greatest help in refining the 5 lives profound gate pill. Seeing that Hu Bing was about to leave the Qingyao Pavilion, Yu Haoran suddenly thought of inviting Xiang Wenshuan in. This made Thaling very puzzled. Faced with Thaling's interrogation, Yu Haoran sighed softly. After getting up, he looked in the direction of the palace and said with a tone full of determination, Faling, the 5th level 5 lives profound gate pill, regardless of the difficulty of refining or the effects of the pill itself, is not inferior to a 4th level pill in the slightest. Therefore, when the pill is refined, the phenomenon from the heavens will definitely attract the attention of tens of thousands of people. I need to use the phenomenon from the heavens to raise my reputation in Xianyang City. Because only in this way will that person in the palace not dare to touch me so easily. Not only can I fight for enough benefits for the sect, but I can also resolve a few regrets from my previous life in advance. At this point, Yu Haoran retracted his gaze and looked in the direction of the Qingyuan Guild Hall with a helpless expression. Therefore, I must let Xiang Wenxuan know the severity of the situation and know who is the master and who is the subordinate. Yu Haoran's explanation made Faling finally understand why he wanted to refine the 5 lives profound gate pill that only a pill grandmaster could refine. However, just by looking down on him just now, he could make Xiang Wenxuan give up the opportunity to become famous in the great Emperor Qin Kingdom and even the Tianxian continent. Faling could not believe it. Hee. After hearing Faling's doubts, Yu Haoran chuckled and continued to explain. Faling, that was just a show of strength. I still have other tricks on my sleeve. All right, know your limits. Faling had seen Yu Haoran's underhanded methods more than once. He believed that Yu Haoran, who already had a plan in his heart, would definitely be able to take care of Xiang Wenxuan. Therefore, she only reminded him not to go overboard and didn't say anything else. Nodding his head, Yu Haoran sat back down on the stone chair and quietly waited for those who could help him collect the spirit herbs. It didn't take long. Following a series of messy footsteps, Hu Bing brought Meng Sheng, Feng Yun, and the others to the Qingyao Pavilion. Xiang Wenxuan walked at the back of the group. However, when they saw Yu Haoran sitting on the stone chair, they couldn't help but be stunned, especially when they saw Hu Bing respectfully greet Yu Haoran and indicate that Yu Haoran was the alchemy grandmaster who could refine the detoxification pill. Their faces were filled with disbelief. The cultivation of alchemy was different from the cultivation of martial arts. Martial arts practitioners could rely on their monstrous talent and the assistance of sufficient cultivation resources to raise their cultivation to a certain level in a very short period of time. For example, Meng Sheng. At the age of 24, he was already at the peak of the first-grade martial king realm. However, for alchemy practitioners, talent and comprehension were only the necessary conditions to become an alchemy grandmaster. Rich experience, as well as the practice of refining spirit herbs, were the key to raising one's cultivation of alchemy. Experience required a long time to accumulate. Therefore, the youngest person who could become an alchemy grandmaster in the Tianxian continent was 45 years old and had relied on a 7th-grade, first-grade breakthrough pill to become alchemy grandmaster. What about Yu Haoran in front of them? Not only did the people present know him, they had also done a special investigation and knew his background, as well as his general experience. Everyone, could it be that you don't believe that this vice head can refine the detoxification pill to cure the beauty snake's poison? Yu Haoran asked with a smile when he saw that the people who had entered the Qingyao Pavilion were looking at him with doubtful expressions. As the person with the most distinguished status, Meng Sheng, when faced with Yu Haoran's questioning, everyone's gaze subconsciously turned to him. This made Meng Sheng feel as if he was sitting on pins and needles, and he didn't know how to answer Yu Haoran's question. If he answered yes, it would be equivalent to directly offending Yu Haoran. If the other party was really an alchemy grandmaster who could refine the beauty snake's poison, then wouldn't he lose the opportunity to ask for the detoxification pill? However, if he answered no, Yu Haoran, who is younger than him, was actually an alchemy grandmaster who was comparable to Xiang Wenxuan. This was hard for him to accept. That's true. Without waiting for Meng Sheng to answer, Yu Haoran nodded, denying himself and giving Meng Sheng a way out. This also made Meng Sheng have a good impression of him. After all, I'm still too young. Whether it's my cultivation or my experience and accumulation of alchemy, I don't look like someone who has a high level of alchemy. At this point, Yu Haoran smiled and looked at Xiang Wenxuan, who was standing behind the crowd and looking at him with a puzzled expression. Senior Xiang, I don't know if this junior's evaluation of himself is accurate. Vice sect leader Yu in my Medicine King Valley, there are many alchemists of your age, but even Gu Yu Ting, who has the most outstanding talent in alchemy, can barely refine a 9th level 6th grade vital elemental pill. Although Xiang Wenxuan didn't directly respond to Yu Haoran's question, he used examples to express his doubts about Yu Haoran's alchemy skills. Senior Xiang is right. Nodding in agreement with Xiang Wenxuan's example, Yu Haoran stood up and took out the pill furnace left behind by Saint Elixir Wondrous Venerable from his storage ring. Pill furnaces were different from ordinary magic tools, due to being eroded by alchemy, fire, and medicinal power all year round. The foundation of the pill furnace was more restrained, and its shape was more ordinary. Therefore, Meng Sheng and the others, who were limited by their Yuan Qi and divine soul, temporarily disappeared, did not notice that Yu Haoran had taken out an extraordinary pill furnace. But to Xiang Wenxuan, who was at the pinnacle of alchemy, he didn't need to use his divine consciousness to inspect it. He could tell that this pill furnace was extraordinary just by looking at it with his eyes. To be able to drive this extraordinary pill furnace meant that Yu Haoran had a certain level of alchemy cultivation. Moreover, to take out the pill furnace in front of everyone, it was obvious that he wanted to refine the pill on the spot. This kind of psychological quality and courage was not inferior to his own. After taking out the pill furnace and placing on the ground, Yu Haoran sat cross-legged in front of the pill furnace and took out the spiritual herbs needed to refine the detoxification pill from his storage ring. Seeing that Yu Haoran was planning to refine the detoxification pill on the spot, Hu Bing's expression changed. After all, when he had preached that Yu Haoran was not easy to refine the detoxification pill, he had deliberately increased the number of spiritual herbs needed to refine the detoxification pill. Brother Yu, why don't I help you organize the spiritual herbs? In order to not expose his lie and arouse everyone's resentment, Hu Bing could only shamelessly suggest this. Frowning, he glanced at Hu Bing and found that Hu Bing, whose back was facing everyone, opened his mouth and said a few words. His frown instantly disappeared, and he shook his head at Hu Bing and said, "No need." Chapter 560. Qingyuan Guild Hall, Qingyao Pavilion. Actually, even if Hu Bing hadn't taken the initiative to remind him, Yu Haoran would have taken the initiative to increase the number of spiritual herbs. Then, during the refining process, he would use Thaling's peak martial honor divine sense to secretly move the excess spiritual herbs away. There were two reasons for doing this. Firstly, it was to show that refining the antidote pill for the Snake Beauty's poison required a large amount of spiritual herbs, so that he could ruthlessly cheat the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion. Secondly, it was to guard against Xiang Wenxuan. After all, the refining process for the antidote pill for the Snake Beauty's poison was not complicated. There was also no need to use the method of cutting off the spiritual herbs to separate the power of the pill. With Xiang Wenxuan's peak alchemy grandmaster ability, he only needed to watch the refining process once and then go back to experiment. In a short time, he would be able to refine the antidote pill for the Snake Beauty's poison that only required one spiritual herb. Thaling, I'll have to trouble you. Yu Haoran, who had already communicated with Thaling in advance, secretly reminded him as he activated the alchemy fire in the cauldron and began to melt and refine the spiritual herbs. Don't worry, just focus on refining the pill. Indicating that Yu Haoran did not need to worry, Thaling directly used his peak martial honor divine sense and secretly moved the unnecessary spiritual herbs out of the cauldron without anyone noticing. With his rich alchemy experience from his previous life, coupled with the Saint Grey cauldron left by the pills Saint Miao Zun and the 23 stalks of spiritual herbs that Thaling had secretly removed, the speed at which Yu Haoran melted and refined the spiritual herbs far exceeded Xiang Wenxuan's expectations. This caused him to look at Yu Haoran with a face full of shock. This speed of refining the spiritual herbs was already comparable to the Valley Master and head elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. And these two people were the renowned alchemy grandmasters. Looking at the shocked Xiang Wenshuan, Faling, whose body was about to solidify, revealed a proud smile on his face. Actually, not only was Xiang Wenshuan looking at Yu Haoran with a face full of shock, but Meng Sheng, Feng Yun, and the others were also looking at Yu Haoran in shock. As people from the top factions, Meng Sheng and the others also had their own alchemists who had been trained and recruited. They had seen the process of these alchemists refining pills more than once. However, there had never been any alchemists who could refine the spiritual herbs as smoothly as they were as naturally as water. This alone was enough to prove that Yu Haoran Pill was an alchemy grandmaster. Furthermore, they had assessed to refine the antidote. To refine that antidote pill was to ASSS. SSS was an alchemy grandmaster's alchemy of the TSSS pill using a speed that was not inferior to an alchemy grandmaster's in refining spirit herbs to demonstrate his profound alchemy skills. This was Yu Haoran's second step in dealing with Xiang Wenshuan, a show of force. With the experience of concocting the antidote pill in the ruins of the Hidden Art Pavilion's auction house, the harmonious spirit realm, core condensation, and core formation process took almost 10 seconds to complete. Following Yu Haoran's shout, 9 dragon eye-sized, sparkling, and translucent pills flew out of the furnace. With a wave of his hand, he directly put away 8 of the 9 medicinal pills, and the remaining one was directly flicked towards Xiang Wenshuan by Yu Haoran using his essence energy. Reaching out to take the pill, Xiang Wenshuan only needed to look at its color and fragrance to know that this pill was the detoxification pill that could be used to detoxify the snake beauty. Moreover, compared to the detoxification pill that Hu Bing had given him, the detoxification pill that Yu Haoran had just refined was far superior to the one Hu Bing had given him, whether it was the color, smell, or the roundness and efficacy of the pill. What did this mean? It meant that the detoxification pill that Yu Haoran had given to Hu Bing was only his first attempt at concocting. Not only was the concoction a success, but it also produced 9 pills. After using his essence energy to send the detoxification pill to Yu Haoran, Xiang Wenshuan said with a face full of admiration, "Grandmaster Yu, I am sincerely convinced. Grandmaster Xiang is too polite. This junior is limited by his age. In terms of distinguishing the medicinal properties of spiritual herbs, as well as the process of harmonious spirit and core formation, this junior is still lacking in experience. I still need to consult and learn from a senior like you." After keeping the detoxification pill, Yu Haoran said politely and modestly, "Grandmaster Yu is too modest. Your current alchemy Dao cultivation has already far surpassed this old man's. It is this old man who should consult and learn from you." In the face of Yu Haoran's modesty, Xiang Wenshuan, who had always respected alchemy Dao cultivation, did not dare to accept his proposal. He quickly rejected it. "Senior Xiang, you don't have to be too modest. If they continue to be modest, there would definitely be no end to it." Therefore, after a simple politeness, Yu Haoran exposed his shortcomings and ended the act of modesty. "Due to the limitation of my cultivation, I'm still unable to concoct a lot of level 7 to level 5 pills that require the use of spiritual energy. I still need to consult, senior. Let's consult and learn from each other." Since Yu Haoran was able to expose his shortcomings, if they continued to be polite, it would definitely annoy the other party. Therefore, after Xiang Wenshuan was equally polite, they ended the act of modesty. "Grandmaster Yu, I wonder at what price you intend to sell the 9 detoxification pills that you just concocted?" Meng Sheng was not concerned about whose alchemy Dao level was higher and who should consult whom. What he really cared about now was the 9 detoxification pills that Yu Haoran had just concocted. "I wonder at what price young Master Meng intends to buy them." Looking at the pill bottle in his hand, Yu Haoran asked with a smile. Not answering Yu Haoran's question, Meng Sheng turned his gaze to Hu Bing. Receiving Meng Sheng's signal, Hu Bing hurriedly walked in front of Yu Haoran and recounted Feng Yun's plan to buy 126 detoxification pills in one go, as well as Qin Tianyi and Meng Sheng's counterattack against Feng Yun. 1 million. Yu Haoran's gaze swept across Feng Yun, and a disdainful sneer appeared on his face. Frowning slightly, Feng Yun stared intently at Yu Haoran. He stared intently at Yu Haoran, not because of his sneer, but because he felt that this youth, whose alchemy Dao was not inferior to Xiang Wenshuan's, was very familiar. When he saw the dark blue command medallion on the stone table from the corner of his eye, the image of a young man with an indignant expression appeared in his mind. When a youth's appearance completely overlapped with Yu Haoran, Feng Yun couldn't help but take 2 steps back in fright. "Consecrated Feng, what's wrong?" Jiang Yin hurriedly asked when she sensed Feng Yun's fluctuating emotions and his frightened and uneasy expression. "Deputy Pavilion Master Jiang, forgive this subordinate for being blind and offending someone he cannot afford to offend," Feng Yun said with a wry smile as he looked at Yu Haoran, who still had a sneer on his face. "Consecrated Feng, what's going on?" Qin Yin had been watching Yu Haoran's actions, which made Jiang Yan's heart skip a beat. She quickly asked, "It's like this." Chapter 561. Pure Source Guild Hall, Pure Elegance Pavilion. Feng Yun, the Pavilion Master made you the #1 Reverend of the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion and put you in charge of Xianyang City's auction house because of your superior foresight and ability to handle matters smoothly. Jiang Yan's expression couldn't help but change when she heard Feng Yun's explanation. She turned to look at Yu Haoran and grumbled in anger and resentment. "Let's not talk about Vice Sect Master Yu's ability as a pill grandmaster. Just the treasures he traded with the auction house and the items he put up for auction are enough to prove that he has an extraordinary background. Our Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion's principle is to curry favor and rope in such a person, not to mention that he took the initiative to ask you for a token that symbolizes his status. How could you be so foolish as to refuse him?" "Huh." Feng Yun only sighed in response to Jiang Yan's complaints and did not try to defend himself. Back then, he had refused to allow Yu Haoran to become an honored guest of the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion because of jealousy. This was because Yu Haoran's eloquence, experience, and knowledge at such a young age made Feng Yun extremely jealous. He did not want Yu Haoran to appear too often in the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion and attract the attention of the upper echelon. If they tried to rope him in, it would affect his position in the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion. As a shrewd businessman, Jiang Yan, who was meticulous, could basically guess the reason behind Qin Yun's helplessness through his sigh. Although she was extremely angry, Feng Yun was still a member of the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion. She had to protect him no matter what. Thus, Jiang Yan planned to use her abilities and methods to win back Yu Haoran's forgiveness and obtain the antidote for herself, Feng Yun, Xiao Mei, and the other 11 experts. "Enough, Reverend Feng Yun. You don't need to say or do anything else. Leave the rest to me. Young Master Mengsheng, to tell you the truth, I, Yu Haoran, lack in everything but not spirit stones." Yu Haoran withdrew his gaze from Feng Yun's body and placed the bottle of antidote on the stone table. He then sat on the stone chair and smiled. In the face of Yu Haoran's somewhat arrogant words, the crowd didn't feel too repulsed. They could only sigh endlessly in their hearts. Because just as Yu Haoran said, with his ability as an alchemy grandmaster, he could casually refine a few 6th order and 5th order pills that could increase cultivation and strength, and he could easily exchange them for tens of millions, or even hundreds of millions of spirit stones. Spirit stones, to an alchemy grandmaster, were just a number. Then what is grandmaster you need now? Unlike the others who were lamenting Yu Haoran's arrogant attitude just now, the astute Meng Sheng quickly discovered a trace of opportunity from Yu Haoran's attitude just now. "Since I'm good at alchemy, what do you think I lack, young Master Meng Sheng?" Yu Haoran asked Meng Sheng with a smile. "Grandmaster Yu, I will immediately send someone to the Meng family to fetch 100 5th order, 6th order, and 7th order spirit herbs for you." From Yu Haoran's smiling rhetorical question, Meng Sheng already knew the method to exchange the antidote and quickly assured Yu Haoran. "Young Master Meng Sheng, with my alchemy cultivation, Yu Haoran, I don't lack some common spirit herbs. If you're really willing to give me spirit herbs, then choose 10 from the 108 spirit herbs and give them to me." Seeing that the preheating was about done, Yu Haoran picked up the jade slip placed on the stone table and directly threw it to Meng Sheng. The Snake Beauty's venom caused Meng Sheng to temporarily lose his Yuan power and divine soul, so he couldn't use his divine sense. Therefore, after receiving the jade slip, he looked helplessly at Yu Haoran. With a chuckle, Yu Haoran took out an antidote from the pill bottle placed on the stone table and directly flicked it to Meng Sheng. After consuming the antidote, he used his divine sense, which had recovered a little more than 10%, to directly check the information in the jade slip. 10 seconds later, Meng Sheng, who had retracted his divine sense, returned the jade slip to Yu Haoran and said in a very heroic manner, "To be able to know Grandmaster Yu, it can be said that I, Meng Sheng, am lucky. Moreover, how can 10 spirit herbs compare to the antidote that can cure the Snake Beauty's venom, which is ranked 78th on the Profound Sky Continent's 100 Poisons ranking? Therefore, I have decided to give Grandmaster Yu 15 spirit herbs marked in the jade slip as a meeting gift. As for the types of spirit herbs, I have already used my divine sense to erase them." Haoran thanks young Master Meng Sheng. Hearing that Meng Sheng directly gifted 15 spirit herbs that could be used to refine the 5 Lives Mystery Gate pill, Yu Haoran was pleasantly surprised and immediately stood up to express his gratitude. Then he took out 4 antidote pills and directly flicked them to Meng Sheng. "Thank you, Grandmaster. I will go prepare the spirit herbs now." After receiving the 4 antidote pills, Meng Sheng's face lit up with joy. After swallowing the 4 antidote pills, he cupped his fists and said goodbye to Yu Haoran. "I won't see you out." Similarly cupping his fists and saying goodbye, Yu Haoran watched Meng Sheng leave the Qingyao Pavilion. After consuming 1 antidote pill and giving away 4 more, there were still 4 antidote pills left out of the 9. Seeing Yu Haoran put the pill bottle back on the stone table, the crowd at the scene was instantly envious. Hu Bing had once said that the spirit herbs needed to refine the antidote pills were very precious. Moreover, they had personally witnessed the quality and quantity of the spirit herbs used in the process of refining the pills. Even though Yu Haoran was a pill master, he was limited by his cultivation base. The amount of spirit herbs that could be used to refine the antidote pills would probably not be many. Therefore, in the face of the few remaining antidote pills, the crowd only had one thought at this moment, and that was to immediately make a move and get as many as they could. After all, if they could temporarily recover a portion of their origin power and soul, they would have the ability to protect themselves. "Grandmaster Yu, can you let me take a look at the jade slip from earlier?" Li Yi, the Li clan's 5th elder from a first-rate family in Xianyang City, whose cultivation base was already at the peak of the 1st-grade martial saint, lowered his status and asked to curry favor. "Senior Li, you're too polite." After saying some polite words, Yu Haoran directly threw the jade slip in his hand to Li Yi, and at the same time, gave him an antidote pill. "Grandmaster Yu, although my Li clan is not as powerful as the Meng clan, our attitude toward befriending grandmasters is not the slightest bit inferior to Meng Sheng's. 15 stalks of spirit herbs. It can also be considered as my Li clan's gift to Grandmaster Yu." After consuming the antidote pill and recovering more than 10% of his soul, Li looked at the 93 stalks of spirit herbs marked on the jade slip. He carefully recalled the spirit herbs that the Li clan had collected and discovered that there were actually close to 20 types of spirit herbs recorded on the jade slip in the Li clan's treasury. Although he very much wanted to give these 20-plus stalks of spirit herbs to Yu Haoran, not only would he be able to exchange for more antidote pills, he would also be able to win the favor of the pill master. However, after years of power struggles, Li Yi understood a principle, and that was to leave a certain amount of leeway in everything he did. Chapter 562, Qingyuan Guild Hall, Qingyao Pavilion. Haoran thanks elderly. Seeing that Li Yi also took out 15 stalks of spirit herbs, Yu Haoran hurriedly gave his thanks and surprise. "You're welcome." After being courteous, Li Yi looked straight at Yu Haoran. "Hu Bing." He raised his head and shouted at Hu Bing, "Give it to me." Taking out the pill bottle containing 4 antidote pills, Hu Bing directly handed it to Yu Haoran. Receiving the pill bottle from Hu Bing, Yu Haoran directly used essence energy to send it in front of Li Yi. "Grandmaster Yu, I will immediately return to my family to prepare the spirit herbs. Like Meng Sheng, Li Yi, who had already experienced the effects of the antidote pills, swallowed the 4 antidote pills into his body while cupping his fists and bidding farewell. Grandmaster Yu, can you let this old man take a look at the jade slip? Grandmaster Yu, my family specializes in medicinal herbs business. Quickly let this one take a look at the jade slip. Grandmaster Yu, I know where to buy top-notch spirit herbs in Xianyang City. This one can also help you prepare 15 stalks of spirit herbs. Meng Sheng and Li Yi had already exchanged 10 antidote pills, and Yu Haoran only had 4 antidote pills left in his hands. According to Yu Haoran's generous attitude earlier, if he did not hurry up, these 4 antidote pills would probably be given to the next person who provided the spirit herbs. Therefore, other than Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion's Jiang Yin and Feng Yun, who did not step forward, the remaining few people all expressed their stance. Everyone, please listen to me. Looking at the few people arguing noisily before him, Yu Haoran felt that his head was about to explode, and he had no choice but to signal everyone to quiet down first. First of all, because the snake beauty diluted the toxicity of the poison when it sprayed out the seal-cracking poison, causing the toxicity of the poison to be weakened greatly. Everyone only temporarily lost their essence, energy, and divine soul. Secondly, after my inspection, I discovered that the diluted Snake Beauty's poison has an incubation period of 1 month. In other words, everyone doesn't have to worry about their lives for the time being. Lastly, with the spiritual herbs I have stored, I can continue to refine 3 more times. In other words, I can refine 24 pills, which is enough for you to temporarily recover a portion of your spiritual energy and spirit. After hearing Yu Haoran's explanation, the crowd did not calm down. Instead, they became even more anxious to compete for the detoxification pill. If Yu Haoran hadn't mentioned the second point just now and didn't know the exact time when the beauty snake's poison would erupt, perhaps everyone would still have some hope in their hearts. However, a month's time was neither too long nor too short. If by any chance Yu Haoran couldn't gather the 4th, 5th, or even more medicinal ingredients needed to refine the beauty snake's poison within a month, then wouldn't they be helplessly losing their lives? Grandmaster Yu, 30 stalks of spiritual herbs. Lu Gan, the hall master of the Blue Dragon Hall of the Lu family, which was the 2nd largest city in the Emperor Qin Kingdom and the 1st-generation family of Feng City, and whose cultivation was already at the peak of the 5th-grade martial saint realm, promised while gritting his teeth. As long as you open the cauldron and give me 9 detoxification pills, I will immediately gather 30 spiritual herbs for you. Time: 9 detoxification pills in exchange for 30 spiritual herbs. After hearing Lu Gan's promise, Yu Haoran's eyes lit up and quickly asked him how long he could fulfill the promise. Can you let me take a look at the types of spiritual herbs in the jade slip? Lu Gan, who had a cautious temperament, didn't rashly give time to fulfill the promise, asked. Here, directly throwing the jade slip and a detoxification pill to Lu Gan, Yu Haoran looked at him expectantly. With the help of the detoxification pill, Lu Gan carefully looked at the remaining 73 spiritual herbs in the jade slip and found that most of the spiritual herbs could be gathered within 2 hours. There were only 2 kinds of spiritual herbs that had no whereabouts for the time being. However, this was not a problem for Lu Gan, because Emperor Qin's most favored imperial concubine was Lu Gan's biological sister. He could completely gather the 2 kinds of spiritual herbs in a short time through her. Therefore, directly erasing the 30 stalks of spiritual herbs in the jade slip, Lu Gan threw the jade slip to Yu Haoran and gave himself a guarantee. In 1 day's time, I will deliver the 30 stalks of spiritual herbs to you on time tomorrow morning. Senior Lu, this junior believes in you. Throwing the pill bottle containing the remaining 3 medicinal pills directly to Lu Gan, Yu Haoran also gave his own attitude. Goodbye. Taking the 3 medicinal pills directly, Lu Gan said goodbye. With the help of the Yuanli and Divine Soul that had just recovered less than 50%, he quickly left the Qingyuan Guild Hall and rushed to the Lu family's mansion in Xianyang City. In the blink of an eye, the 18 medicinal pills from the 2 furnaces were all given away. The remaining people at the scene looked at each other, but no one was eager to see the contents of the jade slip. Yu Haoran raised his head to look at the crowd that had suddenly quieted down and smiled knowingly. Taking out the pill furnace again, he used the method just now to refine a furnace of detoxification pills. Just as Yu Haoran just put away the 9 medicinal pills that flew out of the pill furnace, Hu Bing, who was the first to rush to him, directly knelt on the ground and begged. "Brother Yu, can you give me this furnace of medicinal pills?" For Qin Tianyi. Feeling the eagerness in Hu Bing's heart, Yu Haoran knew why he took the initiative to ask him for the detoxification pills. "That's right." Nodding, Hu Bing explained with a bitter smile. "Brother Yu, now I, Hu Bing, no longer have extravagant hopes for an official career, nor do I need the promises of those people. I only hope to be able to remove the snake beauty's poison from the 3rd prince's body and save the lives of me and the thousands of people in the Hu family." Others didn't know the number of spiritual herbs that Yu Haoran needed to refine medicinal pills, but he, Hu Bing, knew clearly. Therefore, when he saw Yu Haoran give away the newly refined medicinal pills, as well as the ones refined in the ruins of the Grace Pavilion, he wasn't anxious in his heart. He believed that Yu Haoran would definitely reserve a portion of the detoxification pills for him in the end. But after hearing that the Snake Beauty's poison only had an incubation period of 1 month, he became anxious. Because he believed that with Qin Tianyi's cold-blooded and overbearing character, he would absolutely not tolerate him having only a 1-month safe period. Qin Tianyi would definitely use the Hu family to force him to return the detoxification pills for him in the shortest time possible. What's more, after seeing Meng Sheng, Li Yi, and Lu Gan's forthrightness and magnanimity in order to obtain the detoxification pills, he was worried that even if Yu Haoran had an abundant supply of spiritual herbs, he wouldn't be able to satisfy the needs of so many people. Therefore, he could only thicken his face and plead. "Hu Bing, seeing that you're working for me, I can give Qin Tianyi 9 detoxification pills." Sighing, Yu Haoran helped Hu Bing up and agreed with a helpless expression. "Thank you, Brother Yu. Thank you, Brother Yu." Seeing that Yu Haoran agreed to give him medicinal pills, Hu Bing was so excited that he almost knelt down again. However, ignoring the emotional Hu Bing, Yu Haoran's tone changed and his tone was full of indifference. "Since I don't know Qin Tianyi and the identity of the 3rd prince has nothing to do with me, I can't give away the detoxification pills that I painstakingly refined for free." Speaking until here, Yu Haoran took out an empty medicinal pill from his storage ring. Then he separated 5 of the 9 medicinal pills that he had just refined and placed them in the empty pill bottle before handing it to Hu Bing. Chapter 563. Qingyuan Guild Hall, Qingyao Pavilion. "Thank you, Brother Yu." Receiving the pill bottle from Yu Haoran, Hu Bing sincerely thanked him. In order to obtain 9 detoxification pills, Meng Sheng and Li Yi were willing to take out 15 spirit herbs, and Lu Gan was willing to pay 30 spirit herbs. But for Qin Tianyi, she only needed to pay 10 spirit herbs in exchange for 9 detoxification pills. Hu Bing believed that this was Yu Haoran giving him face, so how could he not be grateful? "Go, tell Qin Tianyi that I, Yu Haoran, do not have enough spirit herbs to refine detoxification pills. If you are late, there might not be a single detoxification pill." Waving his hand, Yu Haoran did not forget to remind Hu Bing of the method to urge Qin Tianyi. "Brother Yu, I will go see the 3rd prince now." Nodding his head, Yu Haoran watched Hu Bing leave Qingyao Pavilion quickly. The corners of his mouth could not help but curl up slightly. Although it was said that for Hu Bing's sake, Qin Tianyi only needed to provide 10 spiritual medicines in exchange for 9 detoxification pills. But the 10 spiritual medicines marked in the inscribed jade slip that was given to Hu Bing were the most precious, most valuable, and the rarest 10 spiritual medicines in refining the 5 lives mysterious gate pill. It could be said that the value of these 10 spirit herbs was almost equivalent to the 30 spirit herbs that Lu Gan had provided. The reason why he was so against Qin Tianyi was not only because of the grudges from his previous life, but also because of revenge for his arrogance. Holding the pill bottle tightly, Hu Bing turned and left Qingyao Pavilion. After walking out of Qingyuan Guild Hall and seeing the hundreds of people standing in front of the hall, a wry smile appeared on his face. Quietly putting away the pill bottle, Hu Bing walked in front of everyone and told them everything that had happened in Qingyao Pavilion. Brother Hu, a middle-aged man, who was close to 50 years old and was already at the peak of the 7th grade martial emperor, approached Hu Bing with a fawning face. He greeted him enthusiastically while taking out a storage bag and quietly stuffing it into Hu Bing's hand. Can I trouble you to go and report and see if Master Yu can spare some time to meet us? Brother Hu, I'll have to trouble you to make another trip. Brother Hu, it's just a small token of my appreciation. Please make another trip. Seeing that the middle-aged man had secretly given Hu Bing a bag of holding, some of the people present who were of high status hurriedly took out some treasures and desperately tried to give them to Hu Bing. They only begged him to go and report the matter. Hu Bing said with a solemn expression as he pushed away the treasures that were presented to him and returned the storage pouch that the middle-aged man had just stuffed into his hand. Everyone, when we were at the ruins of the Hidden Art Pavilion, I had promised all of you that I would tell Grandmaster Yu about your difficulties. Now, I need to see the third prince. When I return, I will definitely ask Grandmaster Yu to help everyone. After leaving behind these words, Hu Bing hurriedly left the Qingyuan Guild Hall and headed straight for the Yifeng mansion that he had made an appointment with Qin Tianyi. Old Go, I'm guessing that kid must have the antidote for the beauty snake's poison. Watching Hu Bing leave quickly, a skinny middle-aged man with a feminine temperament said to the middle-aged man who had secretly stuffed the storage bag into Hu Bing's hand. Old Zhu, what do you want to do? The middle-aged man with the surname Go asked in shock. Kill and rob. The middle-aged man, surnamed Zhu, said with a murderous aura. Old Zhu, if you want to die, you can, but please don't pull me. Seeing that the middle-aged man, surnamed Zhu, was actually planning to kill Hu Bing and steal the pills in his hands, the middle-aged man, surnamed Go, was so scared that he almost jumped up. You're scared. The middle-aged man, surnamed Zhu, looked at the middle-aged man, surnamed Go, with displeasure and asked with a gloomy expression. Faced with the middle-aged man, surnamed Zhu's questioning, the middle-aged man, surnamed Go, scolded angrily. Nonsense. Don't you know who that kid is giving the antidote to? Don't tell me you want to implicate the family behind you and me to die together? Sigh. Raising his head and looking at Hu Bing's back, the middle-aged man, surnamed Zhu, could only sigh and extinguish the idea of killing and robbing. Grandmaster Yu, first of all, let me introduce myself. Seeing that Yu Haoran had given away 5 of the 9 pills that had just come out of the furnace in the blink of an eye, the originally quiet crowd suddenly became anxious. Thinking of how LV Gon had boasted to obtain the opportunity to obtain the detoxification pill, the few people present looked at each other with vigilance in their eyes. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Jiang Yin walked up to Yu Haoran and revealed a smile that she thought was charming. Jiang Yin, Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion's deputy pavilion master. Without waiting for Jiang Yin to introduce herself, Yu Haoran took the initiative to reveal her background. I've seen you at the Hidden Art Pavilion's auction. In that case, this deputy pavilion master won't waste any more words. Reaching out to touch a few loose strands of hair on her forehead, Jiang Yin put away her smile and spoke in a serious tone. Grandmaster Yu, I've come to see you this time for 2 reasons. Saying this, Jiang Yin took out an exquisitely carved storage bracelet from her sleeve and handed it to Yu Haoran. First, I'm here to give you the spirit stones for the 3 auction items. Among them, the 6th order 1st grade blood coagulation pill with the crystal marrow was sold for 700 million 8th order 1st grade spirit stones. The inheritance jade slip was sold for 3 billion 8th order 1st grade spirit stones. The black saliva ball was sold for 18 million 8th order 1st grade spirit stones. The final total of the 3 auction items was 718 million 8th order 1st grade spirit stones. Grandmaster Yu 718 million 8th order 1st grade spirit stones is too large, so I've taken an initiative to exchange them for 6th order and 5th order top grade spirit stones for you. He reached out to take the storage bracelet and checked it with his divine thought. Then, he kept the remaining spirit stones worth 718 million and kept them all in the victor. Then, Yu Haoran handed the storage bracelet to Jiang Yin expressionlessly and said, Deputy Pavilion Master Jiang, according to the agreement I made with the auction house, you should take 1% of the transaction price. I've already left the spirit stones and the storage bracelet. Not accepting 1% of the transaction price and the storage bracelet meant that Yu Haoran did not want to reconcile with the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion for the time being. Jiang Yin, who originally wanted to take out the light purple token, gave up on the idea of getting closer to him for the time being. Grandmaster Yu, I'm sure you have a certain understanding of the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion. You know that we mainly deal in elixirs and spiritual herbs. Speaking of this, Jiang Yin turned to look at the few people who were indignant and sneered disdainfully. Chapter 564. 3 hours. It took her more than 3 hours to finish writing this chapter. It could be said that this was the chapter that Yin Yin had spent the most time on and felt the most unbearable. Qingyuan Guildhall, Qingya Pavilion. Jiang Yin, aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? Seeing Jiang Yin, who boasted that she intended to directly take over the remaining 38 stalks of spiritual medicine in exchange for all the antidote pills in Yu Haoran's possession, Zhang Tian from Xianyang City's first-rate clan, the Zhang clan, ridiculed with extreme anger. The Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion's business is indeed spread throughout the Tianxin continent. However, you, Jiang Yin, are merely one of the deputy pavilion masters. You are only in charge of the business of the great Emperor Qin Kingdom and the surrounding factions. The Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion still has a deputy pavilion master, 3 elders for protectors, 5 hall masters, 6 branch masters, and 7 attendants whose power is not inferior to yours. Are you able to mobilize all the power and resources of the entire Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion to serve you? Zhang Tian, the foundation of the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion and my methods are not something that a mere clan elder like you has the right to understand. At this moment of life and death, Jiang Yin did not care whether she would offend the local tyrant of Xianyang City and retorted with a sharp tone. Tisk, facing Jiang Yan's sharp rebuttal, Zhang Tian snorted disdainfully and retorted, It has only been a few decades since your Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion was established. How much foundation could you have accumulated? And if you, Jiang Yin, were so powerful, the sect leader of Grandmaster Yu's sect would not have used the method of grafting flowers onto trees to give birth to a child for him. Fouling, didn't you say that Jiang Yin is a woman who has never given birth before? Hearing Zhang Tian's sarcastic words, Yu Haoran was shocked and couldn't help but question the tower spirit that had promised him before. Yu Haoran, the woman surnamed Jiang, has indeed never given birth before. However, I already know what is going on. Fouling sneered after hearing Yu Haoran's question. What is going on? Yu Haoran hurriedly asked. Demonic Dao's secret technique, borrowing the womb. After hearing Fouling's explanation, Yu Haoran frowned slightly. Because among the demonic Dao's secret techniques he was familiar with, there was no such secret technique. Therefore, Yu Haoran asked directly, Fouling, what do you mean by borrow? Yu Haoran, actually, using someone else's womb to give birth to a child can't be considered a secret technique of the Devil Dao. It can only be said to be a method, a cruel method to deal with an accidental pregnancy after enjoying the pleasure of sex. With Fouling's further explanation of the method of giving birth to a child in another woman's womb, Yu Haoran's face gradually became solemn, and his eyes revealed a strong sense of dread as he looked at Jiang Yin. The joy of fish and water, the mingling of yin and yang, was still the relationship between humans. Whether it was the righteous people who restrained their inner desires or the ambitious people of the demonic path who released their inner desires, love between men and women was not a taboo. However, the essence produced when yin and yang blended to its peak could easily make a woman pregnant. As the saying goes, after 10 months of pregnancy and 1 day of childbirth, one's flesh and blood will be connected. For a woman, from the moment of conception, all her energy and mind would be placed on the fetus in her belly, and the focus of her future life would also shift to the child. However, for a female cultivator, conception was not as simple as pregnancy and childbirth. The consumption of energy and mind was only secondary. Even if it delayed her cultivation for a period of time, it was acceptable. However, from a moment of conception, the fetus in her body would share the essence of her body without her control. As a result, the moment the child was born, the mother's cultivation would more or less drop to a certain realm. Moreover, the higher the cultivation of a female cultivator, the more her realm would drop. Therefore, this was the main reason why many female cultivators were unwilling to get pregnant. However, as long as one's cultivation did not break through the martial god realm and completely shed the mortal body, one would still be an ordinary human, and one would not be able to abandon the 7 emotions and 6 desires. As a woman, the strength of motherhood was a kind of emotion that surpassed all other emotions. Therefore, from the moment they found out that they were pregnant, even if they knew the consequences of childbirth, most women would still choose to have children in the end. This was exactly the same as the old saying, maternal love was the greatest love in the world. However, that was not the case for Jiang Yin. The selfish Jiang Yin did not feel the slightest bit of maternal love when she found out that she was pregnant. Her only thought was how to deal with the hidden danger in her body. If she aborted the fetus directly, it would damage her foundation and affect her future breakthrough to a higher realm. Therefore, she used the devil path secret technique to transplant the essence of her pregnancy into another ordinary woman's body, and used that woman's belly to give birth to her child. This child was none other than Zhao Xinyu. Without going through 10 months of pregnancy, the child would not compete with her for the essence in her body, and it would not affect her cultivation. It was precisely because he did not compete with her for the essence in her body that Zhao Xinyu did not have Jiang Yan's aura. At the same time, this was the fundamental reason why Jiang Yin and Zhao Ji's potential was so outstanding, and why Zhao Xinyu, their descendant, had such ordinary aptitude. Without going through childbirth, Jiang Yan's body would not change in any way. This was also the main reason why Thaling believed that Jiang Yin had never given birth before. At the same time, this was also the main reason why Jiang Yin and Zhao Xinyu's relationship was so distant. Thaling, as the saying goes, even a vicious tiger will not eat its cubs. This woman, Jiang Yin, is too terrifying. Yu Haoran could not help but shake his head and sigh as he watched Jiang Yan's face gradually turn ashen from extreme anger. At the same time, he also felt that Zhao Xinyu was very pitiful. That's right. Thaling, who felt the same way, could not help but agree as well. Zhang Tian, if you continue to speak irresponsibly and slander me, then I, Jiang Yin, will use all the power of the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion at all costs to fight to the death with your Zhang family. The child was a stain that could never be washed away in Jiang Yan's life. It was a reverse scale that could never be touched in her heart, and it was also an inner demon that would prevent her from breaking through to a higher realm in the future. Zhang Tian had blatantly ripped open the hidden scar in her heart in front of everyone, especially in front of Yu Haoran, who was also from the 100 Qi Gate. This caused Jiang Yin to be unable to control the murderous intent in her body. If it were not for the fact that the snake beauty's venom prevented her from using the strength of a martial saint, she would not have needed to threaten Zhang Tian at all. She would have definitely chosen to attack, even if it meant dying together with Zhang Tian in the end. Zhang Tian knew that she had completely angered Jiang Yin when he saw her eyes turn a terrifying red and her expression become even more sinister. He also knew that if this woman went crazy, she was indeed someone that he could not afford to offend. Thus, he shrugged his shoulders and said nothing more. Vice Pavilion Master Jiang, calm down. Seeing Jiang Yin descend into madness, Feng Yun, who knew the entire situation, could only shake his head helplessly. He then stretched out his hand to hold Jiang Yin down and loudly reminded her, "Feng Yin, I'm fine." Jiang Yin took a few deep breaths and looked at Zhang Tian with murderous intent. She then turned her head to Feng Yun and replied in a hoarse voice. Vice Pavilion Master Jiang, rest for a while. Leave the rest to me, Feng Yun said as he patted Jiang Yan's shoulder. Can I? Jiang Yan asked doubtfully when she thought of the conflict between Feng Yun and Yu Haoran. Why can't I? It's just a matter of how much I have to pay, Feng Yun said bitterly. All right. Jiang Yan nodded and could only agree. Actually, there was nothing she could do even if she did not agree. Chapter 565. Qingyuan Guild Hall, Qingyu Pavilion. Feng Yun, you don't have to say anything for now. I'll talk about my deal with your Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion later. When he saw Feng Yun walking towards him, Yu Haoran directly stretched out his hand to stop him from speaking. Then, he made his own request. All right. Since Yu Haoran had clearly expressed that he was willing to trade with the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion for the antidote pills, there was no need to rush. So, Feng Yun nodded and returned to Jiang Yan's side. At the same time, he started to discuss the deal with Yu Haoran with her. Raising his head to glance at Zhang Tian and the others, Yu Haoran directly sat cross-legged in front of the cauldron that he hadn't put away earlier. Then he took out 41 spirit herbs and used the same method to refine another cauldron of antidote pills. Including the 4 remaining antidote pills from the third cauldron, he now had a total of 13 antidote pills in his possession. Senior Zhang, Senior Wang. Yu Haoran extended his hand and cupped his fists towards Zhang Tian and the others. Grandmaster Yu, please speak. As the person with the most distinguished status and the strongest cultivation amongst the 6, Zhang Tian took the initiative to speak. Next, each of you will take 1 antidote pill. Then each of you will choose 6 spirit herbs. If you're able to collect 6 spirit herbs, I'll give you the remaining 8 antidote pills after this. If you're unable to do so, then the antidote pills I gave you earlier will be considered a gift from this junior to the seniors. He selected 6 of the 9 pills that he'd just refined and used his origin energy to directly flick them toward Zhang Tian and the others. Grandmaster Yu, Jade Slip. After consuming the antidote pill and feeling the origin energy in her sea of consciousness and Dantian gradually starting to recover, Zhang Tian opened her eyes and directly asked Yu Haoran for the jade slip that recorded the spirit herbs. Here. After reaching out to take the jade slip, Zhang Tian used her divine perception to carefully examine the 38 spirit herbs marked on the jade slip. She discovered that the Zhang clan's inventory just happened to have 8 of these spirit herbs. Considering that Yu Haoran still had 7 antidote pills in his possession, if each of them continued to divide 1 pill, there would still be 1 pill left. Zhang Tian immediately had an idea in her heart. Grandmaster Yu, although my Zhang clan is not as powerful as the Meng clan and Li clan in Xianyang City, it is still considered as a first-rate clan, and our clan's inventory of spirit herbs are abundant. How about this? I, Zhang Tian, am willing to take out 8 stalks of spiritual herbs in exchange for the remaining detoxification pills. Senior, I'm very grateful. After receiving the jade slip that Zhang Tian had sent back, Yu Haoran glanced at the 8 spirit herbs that Zhang Tian had erased. 2 of them were exactly what he needed right now, and he immediately thanked her in surprise. As for the remaining 30 stalks of spiritual medicine, even if the other 5 people were unable to provide all of them, it would not affect his plan to refine the 5 lives mysterious gate pill. Zhang Tiyu, houses to the gives to s, tis twos, Yu Haoran. Therefore, after expressing his thanks, Yu Haoran directly took out 2 antidote pills and used his origin energy to deliver them to Zhang Tian. Grandmaster Yu, I'll go prepare the spirit herbs first. Zhang Tian directly swallowed the 2 antidote pills and cupped her fists to bid farewell. I won't see you out. After watching Zhang Tian leave the Qingyao Pavilion, Yu Haoran directly threw the jade slip to an elder from the Wang family. Yu Haoran's luck was not bad. Elder Wang and the other 4 could just gather the remaining 30 spirit herbs. This way, he didn't need to use his own spirit herbs. After watching Elder Wang and the other 4 leave the Qingyao Pavilion, Yu Haoran sat back on the stone chair and looked straight at Jiang Yin and Feng Yin. Deputy Pavilion Master Jiang, Consecrator Feng, just tell me what price you're willing to pay in exchange for the antidote pill that can cure the beauty snake's poison. After looking at each other, Feng Yin finally took a few steps forward and also looked straight at Yu Haoran. Grandmaster Yu, I'd like to apologize to you first. In the auction house, I didn't recognize Mount Tai and mistook the true dragon for a shrimp. I've treated you badly. Speaking of this, Feng Yin took out the storage bracelet that Jiang Yin had intended to give to Yu Haoran, as well as a light purple token. A storage bracelet with a storage space of 900 square meters and a light purple identity token that allows you to enjoy a 40% discount. Consider this my apology to Grandmaster Yu. Fate begins with a wise eye and ends with a blind eye. Facing the storage bracelet and light purple identity token that Feng Yin handed over, Yu Haoran shook his head and refused. Consecrator Feng, you don't have to apologize to me, and you don't have to give me such a big gift. Yu Haoran's refusal to accept the storage bracelet and identity token was not unexpected to Feng Yin. Thus he, who already had a plan in mind, first placed the storage bracelet on the stone table, then introduced the use of the light purple identity token separately. Grandmaster Yu, the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion's business covers the entire Tianxian continent, and our foundation is unfathomable. With the light purple identity token, you can enjoy a 40% discount on any treasure you purchase. This is probably very convenient for a Grandmaster Alchemist like you. Nodding, Yu Haoran acknowledged Feng Yin's question. Furthermore, you can also pay a small amount of spirit stones to hire martial monarchs and martial saints of the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion. They can help you deal with strong enemies, and they can also help you find precious spiritual herbs. More importantly, with this light purple identity token, you can share a portion of the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion's information. At this point, Feng Yin asked with a smug smile, Grandmaster Yu, I wonder if the various uses of this light purple identity token interest you? Looking at the light purple identity token in Feng Yin's hand, Yu Haoran nodded in agreement. That's right, the various uses of this light purple identity token do interest me greatly. Speaking of this, Yu Haoran's tone suddenly changed, and his tone was full of contempt. However, Feng Yin, don't forget that the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion is not the only chamber of commerce in the Tianxian continent. Just based on the fact that I, Yu Haoran, have the potential to become a Grandmaster Alchemist before the age of 18, and my status as the deputy leader of the second-rate sect, the 100 Qi Gate, I'm sure that the other two chambers of commerce, whose influence and strength are not inferior to the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilions, will be happy to offer the same preferential terms. Seeing that Yu Haoran actually intended to cooperate with the other two chambers of commerce, Feng Yin immediately felt a surge of anger in his heart. However, his rich experience, strong mental state cultivation, and the predicament of not being able to use his soul and yuan power allowed him to quickly calm down. He also quickly discovered the flaw in Yu Haoran's rebuttal. Grandmaster Yu, I agree with what you just said. I even believe that the other two chambers of commerce will definitely offer better terms than the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion. Chapter 566. Qing Yuan Guild Hall, Qingya Pavilion. Feng Yin couldn't help but look proudly at Yu Haoran as he recalled how he'd used the Gao clan, one of the aristocratic clans in Xianyang City, to forcefully drive one of the merchant guilds out of Xianyang City. He believed that Yu Haoran would make a wise choice in the face of cruel reality. Feng Yin, you're right. Yu Haoran nodded in agreement to Feng Yin's undisguised threat. However, there wasn't a trace of dejection on his face. He even had a trace of smile on his face as he spoke. Merchant guilds compete in wealth and connections. The reason why your Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion is able to hold an absolute advantage in Emperor Qin's kingdom is because you have the support of a powerful faction behind you. At this point, Yu Haoran suddenly took a step forward. Although his tone was gentle, the meaning behind his words contained a strong, killing intent. Feng Yin, Do you believe that with my identity as Yu Haoran's pill Tao Grandmaster and the grace of gifting me the antidote pill just now, both Third Prince Qin Tianyi and Xianyang City's #1 clan Mengshang will give me some face? If I ask them to become the backing of the other two merchant guilds, especially the merchant guilds that were driven out of Xianyang City by your heavenly fragrance pavilion, I'm sure they won't refuse such a good thing. The merchant guilds that return to Xianyang City will also properly thank you. Moreover, I believe that with Qin Tianyi and Mengshang's strong support, your heavenly fragrance pavilion's dream of occupying Xianyang City and controlling the entire Emperor Qin's kingdom's merchant guilds will soon be shattered. You dare, whether it was Third Prince Qin Tianyi or Xianyang City's #1 clan Mengshang, as long as they clearly express their support for a certain merchant guild, the Gao clan would immediately abandon the heavenly fragrance pavilion. Therefore, Feng Yin truly panicked when he heard Yu Haoran's counterattack. At the same time, he'd never imagined that Yu Haoran, who wasn't even 18 years old, would be so difficult to deal with. How could his experience and reaction be so outstanding? Feng Yin, there is nothing in this world that Yu Haoran, don't dare to do. Yu Haoran threatened with a cold smile in the face of Feng Yin's rebuke. Grandmaster Yu, please don't misunderstand. Feng Yin didn't mean to threaten you. Jiang Yin, who had also heard Yu Haoran's threat, was really afraid that he would use his status as a grandmaster and the favor of detoxification to help the other two chambers of commerce. This would be a fatal blow to the heavenly fragrance pavilion. If they lost Xianyang City, which they had developed for many years, or even the entire Emperor Qin kingdom, not only would the heavenly fragrance pavilion's overall strength fall from the ranks of the top 3 merchant guilds, but the pavilion master of the heavenly fragrance pavilion and the faction behind the heavenly fragrance pavilion would not let her and Feng Yun off. Therefore, even if she was embarrassed to face Yu Haoran, Jiang Yin knew that she had to show up. I don't care if you're threatening me or not, but right now, you're the ones who need my help, not the other way around. So, you'd better treat me with respect and courtesy. In the face of Jiang Yan's persuasion, Yu Haoran immediately grew wary and restrained his overbearing aura. After all, a vicious character like Jiang Yan could not be easily offended if he couldn't get rid of her immediately. Grandmaster Yu, we don't know much about you, and we don't know what you're lacking or what you really need. Indicating for Feng Yun to step back, Jiang Yan forced a smile on her face and tried her best to keep her tone as calm as possible. So, we still need Grandmaster Yu to provide us with a set of conditions for the transaction. Vice Pavilion Master Jiang, how many detoxification pills does the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion need? Although Hu Bing had said that Feng Yun had initially planned to trade 126 antidote pills with him, after the fierce fight over the 36 antidote pills and witnessing the entire process of him refining the antidote pills, Feng Yun was certain that they would change the number of pills. So, in order to avoid offending Jiang Yin too much and causing her to take revenge on him in the short term, Yu Haoran needed to know the number of pills the other party had to trade so that he could make his request. Hearing Yu Haoran ask for the exact number of pills, Jiang Yin was delighted. She hurriedly excused herself and indicated for Feng Yun to go to a corner of the courtyard to discuss the number of detoxification pills. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yu Haoran immediately cupped his fists and apologized to Xiang Wenxuan with a smile on his face. Senior Xiang, I'm really sorry. There were too many chores just now, and I neglected you. Grandmaster Yu, you're too polite. In the face of Yu Haoran's apology, Xiang Wenxuan was courteous and took the initiative to explain how alchemists got along. Grandmaster Yu, there's an unwritten rule among us alchemists. That is, alchemists don't care about age or cultivation. Only the depth of one's alchemy is important. Now, your alchemy cultivation is not inferior to mine, so you and I can address each other as equals. Since that's the case, then I, Yu Haoran, will be thick-skinned and call you Brother Xiang. After decades of friendship in his previous life, Yu Haoran understood Xiang Wenxuan's character very well. He knew that Xiang Wenxuan was not the kind of person who liked excessive formalities. He also knew that Xiang Wenxuan had a very strong impulse to befriend his peers who had talent in alchemy. Otherwise, he would not have befriended the notorious vicious Sword Emperor who had entered the Tao of Tao through poison in his previous life. Okay, then I'll call you Brother Yu. Seeing Yu Haoran's attitude, Xiang Wenxuan laughed happily. In his heart, he felt much closer to Yu Haoran. Brother Yu, I have 3 presumptuous requests. If I offend you because of this, I hope you can forgive me. The straightforward Xiang Wenxuan felt that Yu Haoran was a person who was easy to get along with, so he immediately asked the 3 questions that he wanted to ask. Brother Xiang, go ahead. Nodding his head, Yu Haoran gestured for him to start the interrogation. Brother Yu, if I'm not wrong, this pill furnace should be the natal magic tool left behind by the pill saint, Miao Zun. Pointing at the pill furnace that Yu Haoran did not put away, Xiang Wenxuan suppressed a trace of nervousness in his voice as he asked, Brother Xiang, you have good eyesight. This pill furnace is the natal magic tool left behind by the pill saint, Miao Zun, 100,000 years ago. Yu Haoran confirmed with a nod. Yu Haoran was not surprised that Xiang Wenxuan was able to recognize the origin of the pill furnace. In his previous life, the reason why he knew about the pill saint, Miao Zun, and the shape of his natal magic tool was because of Xiang Wenxuan. It's really that pill furnace. After receiving Yu Haoran's confirmation, the excited Xiang Wenxuan began to circle around the pill furnace. He looked as if he wanted to touch it with his own hands, but he was afraid that Yu Haoran would be angry. Chapter 567. He didn't say anything else as it was still a trivial matter in the unit. The 5th chapter had to be postponed to after 9 o'clock again. Qingyuan Guild Hall, Qingyao Pavilion. There's no need to refine pills. However, to be able to touch pill, Saint Miao Zun's natal pill cauldron will fulfill a wish that I, Xiang Wenxuan, have been looking forward to for decades. Knowing the importance of a pill cauldron to an alchemist, Xiang Wenxuan would not touch this taboo, even if Yu Haoran took the initiative to say that it was fine. Shaking his head, Yu Haoran ignored Xiang Wenxuan, who was touching the pill cauldron to feel the pill saint ancestor. He turned to look at Jiang Yin, who was walking towards him. Master Yu, with your ability, how many antidote pills can you refine in a month? Jiang Yin asked as she walked in front of Yu Haoran. Deputy Pavilion Leader Jiang, I came to Xianyang City this time to represent the 100 Qi Gate in the Qin Alliance Conference. I can't stay in Xianyang City for a month, nor can I stay in Qingyao Pavilion to refine pills. The fewer the antidote pills, the higher the price, and the higher the price that the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion had to pay. Therefore, how could Yu Haoran reveal the number of antidote pills that he could refine in the end? After hearing Yu Haoran's answer, Jiang Yin turned to look at Feng Yin. After Feng Yin nodded in agreement, Jiang Yin told him the number of pills that they would need. Master Yu, we need 45 antidote pills. Hearing the number of pills that Jiang Yin told him, Yu Haoran couldn't help but shiver as he asked, 45 pills can only cure the beauty snake's poison in 5 people. Is Deputy Pavilion Leader Jiang planning to give up on the subordinates in Sanya? In terms of cold-bloodedness, Yu Haoran felt that he was already ruthless enough. No matter how many enemies he faced, no matter how strong or weak they were, as long as he decided to attack, he would not hesitate or show mercy. However, the premise was that the enemy was either a complete stranger or an enemy who had a deep grudge against him. Facing his family, friends, and loyal subordinates, Yu Haoran didn't think that he could be so cold-blooded and ruthless. That's right. Our Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion's financial resources are limited. For the time being, we can only treat those who need treatment. Nodding her head, Jiang Yan's voice did not contain a trace of emotion. Okay. Nodding, Yu Haoran didn't say anything more. After all, they were willing to abandon their loyal subordinates, so why should he worry so much? Deputy Pavilion Leader Jiang, I can agree to give your Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion 45 antidote pills, but you have to agree to 3 of my requests. Grandmaster Yu, please speak. First, you need to provide 100 sets of spiritual herbs for refining antidote pills. Although he had enough spiritual herbs in his storage ring and Victor to refine 30 detoxification pills, there were still a lot of people who had participated in the auction and humiliated him behind his back. Not a single one of them was spared from the poison that they sprayed out. Even though these people deserved to die, they had lost their divine souls and essence energy, so the responsibility was on him. Therefore, Yuhauran felt that he had the responsibility and obligation to help them remove the beauty snake's poison that had been infused with the special spirit liquid. Of course, this included Jiang Yan's subordinates in the Hidden Grace Pavilion. Cough. However, in exchange for 45 antidote pills, he had to pay 100 sets of spiritual herbs. Jiang Yan instinctively wanted to refuse Yuhauran's first request. However, Feng Yun suddenly coughed softly behind her, reminding her of the beauty snake's poison. Not only did it only have an incubation period of 1 month, but Yuhauran was the only person in the entire Xianyang city who could refine it. If her refusal angered Yuhauran and he refused to refine the antidote pills for her, then what was the point of feeling sorry for the 100 sets of spiritual herbs? Okay, Jiang Yin nodded in agreement. Second, I know that your heavenly fragrance pavilion has an infant soul flower that can restore one's divine soul. Give it to me. Yuhauran saw the hesitation that flashed across Jiang Yan's face, as well as Feng Yun's silent reminder. He knew that she didn't want to agree to his first request. If she wasn't willing to take out a mere 100 sets of spiritual herbs to refine the antidote pills, then the next 2 requests, which were even more outrageous, would be even harder for Jiang Yan to accept. Therefore, Yuhauran didn't bother to wait for Jiang Yan's reply and continued with his third request. Third, use all the resources of your heavenly fragrance pavilion and help me find the whereabouts of the Bodhi fruit within 5 days. Impossible. Facing Yuhauran's 2 consecutive requests, Jiang Yan didn't even consider them and directly rejected them. In that case, I won't see you out. Yuhauran picked up the storage bracelet that Feng Yun had left on the stone table and tossed it to Jiang Yan. With a gloomy expression, he indicated that Jiang Yan could leave the Qingyao Pavilion. Grandmaster Yu, don't be in such a hurry. Seeing Yuhauran turn hostile and reject the deal, Feng Yun hurried to Jiang Yan's side and tried to persuade her with an apologetic smile. I can agree on behalf of Pavilion Leader Jiang to find the whereabouts of the Bodhi fruit within 5 days. But the infant's soul flower. At this point, Feng Yun glanced at Xiang Wenxuan from the corner of his eye. He saw that Xiang Wenxuan was still pressing his hands on the cauldron with his eyes closed. Grandmaster Yu, it's not that Pavilion Leader Jiang, and I don't want to give you the infant soul flower. It's just that we've already given it to the Gao clan leader before the auction started. If it were anyone else, they might have believed Feng Yun's explanation. After all, the reason why the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion could become the #1 chamber of commerce in Xianyang City was directly related to the Gao clan supporting them. If Feng Yun dared to lie about the Gao clan leader and others found out, then the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion could forget about surviving in Xianyang City. However, Yuhauran didn't believe it. He knew that the infant soul flower collected by the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion wasn't for the Gao clan leader at all. Instead, it was for the Valley of the Medicine Masters, the Valley Master and the Head Elder, to work together to refine a type of level 4 9th grade pill that could directly raise one's cultivation to the 7th grade of the Martial Saint realm. Moreover, when Feng Yun had given his explanation, he had pretended to be careless. In reality, he had been deliberately observing Xiang Wenxuan's actions, which made him feel guilty. Therefore, in the face of Feng Yun's explanation, Yuhauran's attitude was that there was no room for negotiation. Feng Yun, I have 3 requests, not one less. Grandmaster Yu, other than the infant soul flower, the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion has other spirit medicines and pills that can raise one's spirit. Even if we have to pay half of the amount, Feng Yun begged bitterly. There's no room for negotiation. Yuhauran shook his head and expressed his attitude. Actually, if Feng Yun was willing to discuss the first and third requests with him, or even reduce the amount of spirit medicines, Yuhauran could accept it. Chapter 568. Qingyuan Guildhall, Qingya Pavilion. Grandmaster Yu, if you really don't have any room for negotiation, then we can only reject the deal. Feng Yun threatened angrily when he saw Yu Haoran's firm attitude. Take care, I won't see you out. Yu Haoran cupped his hands and gestured to send off the guest. Then he sat back on the stone chair and closed his eyes to rest. Vice Pavilion Master Jiang, let's go. Yu Haoran seemed to be fearless, but Feng Yun couldn't help but sneer. He then turned and left with the confused Jiang Yan. Leaving didn't mean rejecting the deal with Yu Haoran, but it was a competition of patience. 9 antidote pills were needed to remove the beauty snake's poison, and 41 spirit herbs were needed to refine 9 antidote pills. Just the 10 people Yu Haoran had promised to give pills to would require 99 antidote pills. If he counted the 4 antidote pills he had used the first time, he would still need to refine 67 antidote pills, which meant that he would need 7 sets of spirit herbs to refine the antidote pills. One set required 41 spirit herbs, so 7 sets would require 287 sets of spirit herbs. Feng Yun believed that the young Yu Haoran couldn't have stored so many spirit herbs. Then, how would Yu Haoran deal with Meng Sheng and the others who were about to return to Qingya Pavilion? Moreover, the people waiting for treatment outside the Pure Source Guildhall were also a group of nobles with extraordinary origins and power in Xianying City. If they knew that Yu Haoran had the ability to refine the antidote pills, but couldn't refine them because he had rejected the deal with Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion, they would definitely pressure him. Therefore, Feng Yun was confident that he could compete with Yu Haoran in patience. He wanted to see who would give up first and admit defeat in the end. Xiang Wenxuan opened his eyes and withdrew his hand from the cauldron. He took a deep breath, then walked up to Yu Haoran and cupped his hands in thanks. Brother Yu, thank you. Yu Haoran hurriedly stood up and waved his hand, then explained, Brother Xiang, being able to comprehend something from the natal pill furnace left behind by the pill saint, Miao Zun, is your own lucky chance. What does it have to do with me? Brother Yu, you can't say that. If I didn't know Brother Yu, I wouldn't have been able to see pill Saint Miao Zun's natal pill furnace. If it wasn't for Brother Yu's kindness in letting me touch the cauldron, I wouldn't have been able to feel the trace of pill Saint Miao Zun's understanding of the pill Dao left behind in the cauldron. Therefore, I have to thank Brother Yu for being able to obtain the opportunity to comprehend the divine pill. Yu Haoran was too lazy to continue arguing with Xiang Wenxuan for beating around the bush to express his gratitude. He quickly changed the topic to the 3 questions he had at the beginning. By the way, Brother Xiang, you said that you have 3 questions in your heart. What's the second one? Wasn't Feng Yun trying to force him to change the nascent soul flower's request through a competition of patience? All right, then let's see who has more confidence and who has more patience. The second question is actually about the detoxification pill that can neutralize the beauty snake's poison. After hearing Yu Haoran's reminder, Xiang Wenxuan suddenly thought of the questions that had accumulated in his heart and hurriedly asked, Brother Xiang, could it be that you want the detoxification pill's pill formula? Yu Haoran's eyebrows slightly wrinkled. His questioning tone revealed a trace of vigilance. Of course, his vigilance and questioning were all purposely feigned. After decades of friendship in his previous life, how could he not understand Xiang Wenxuan's character? He knew that it was impossible for him to make such a mistake. The vigilant questioning just now was actually for Feng Yun and Jiang Yan to hear so that they would completely give up. Brother Yu, please don't misunderstand. How could I possibly ask you for the detoxification pill's pill formula? Xiang Wenxuan, who was afraid that Yu Haoran would misunderstand his thoughts, hurriedly waved his hand and explained. Then Brother Xiang's meaning is? Pretending to be relieved, Yu Haoran continued to ask. Seeing Yu Haoran let out a sigh of relief, Xiang Wenxuan also let out a sigh of relief. There were 3 things that were taboo on the path of alchemy. The first was to inquire about the other party's strange flame that could assist in alchemy. The second was to borrow the other party's cauldron. The third was to ask the other party for the pill formula for alchemy. Moreover, among the 3 taboos, the one that was most likely to cause the other party to react the most, or even become hostile on the spot, was to ask for the pill formula. This was because the pill formula was the foundation that determined the pill master's foothold in the profound sky continent. Not to mention the pill formula for the detoxification pill that could neutralize the beauty snake's poison that was ranked 78th on the profound sky continent's 100 poisons ranking. However, analyzing the medicinal effects of the detoxification pill was not one of the taboos. Thus, Xiang Wenxuan asked the second question in his heart. Brother Yu, I have personally consumed the detoxification pill before and have a relatively good understanding of the detoxification pill's medicinal effects. I just don't understand why you use the method of cutting off the spirit to disperse the medicinal effects of the detoxification pill. Indicating that Xiang Wenxuan was sitting on the stone chair, Yu Haoran took out the 41 stalks of spiritual herbs needed to refine the detoxification pill from his storage ring and pointed at them. Brother Xiang, based on your many years of experience in alchemy, you can calculate the spiritual energy and toxicity contained in the 41 stalks of spiritual herbs. Brother Yu, don't make things difficult for me. Just tell me what's going on. Yu Haoran's question just now made Xiang Wenxuan scratch his head in confusion. He could only smile bitterly and ask for a detailed explanation. Brother Xiang, the amount of spiritual energy and toxicity contained in the 41 stalks of spiritual herbs is too sufficient. Even if you use the cauldron's fire and the Dantian's strength to refine them, the medicinal effects after the pill is formed are still very fierce. If you don't use the method of cutting off the spirit to disperse and purify the medicinal effects of the spiritual herbs, I'm afraid that the pill that is finally condensed will not be the detoxification pill that can neutralize the beauty snake's poison, but a lethal poison pill that can directly destroy one's life. Brother Yu, according to your explanation just now, wouldn't you have wasted too much of the spiritual energy and toxicity of the spiritual herbs? After hearing Yu Haoran's explanation, Xiang Wenxuan nodded, indicating that he understood why Yu Haoran used the method of cutting off the spirit. But when he thought about how at least 2/3 of the spiritual energy would be wasted if he used the method of cutting off the spirit to distribute the medicinal effects, he couldn't help but sigh with regret. Sigh. Yu Haoran also sighed and said with a helpless expression, "There's no other way. This is the first time I'm refining a pill that can neutralize the beauty snake's poison. It was pure luck that I was able to think of using the method of cutting off the spirit to disperse the medicinal effects and finally succeed." Speaking of this, Yu Haoran raised his head and glanced at Feng Yun and Jiang Yin, who were about to walk to the entrance of the courtyard. His tone was full of gratification. Fortunately, after the experience of refining pills 4 times, I now have the confidence to use the method of cutting off the spirit to the extent that 6 pills can neutralize the beauty snake's poison. Chapter 569. Qing Yuan Guildhall, Qingyu Pavilion. A cauldron of 9 pills, and 1 pill turned into a lethal poison. Yu Haoran's gratified sigh caused Qin Yun, who was about to step out of the Qingyu Pavilion, to suddenly stop in his tracks. He then turned his head to look at Yu Haoran in shock. If the truth was as Yu Haoran said, that a single antidote pill could neutralize the snake beauty's lethal poison, then his idea of competing with the other party in terms of patience was a complete joke. Seeing the gratified Yu Haoran sitting cross-legged in front of the cauldron and about to start refining the antidote pill, Feng Yun hurriedly pulled Jiang Yin back into the courtyard and stared at him closely. The 5th time refining the antidote pill to neutralize the snake beauty's lethal poison, whether it was the speed of melting and refining the spirit medicine, the method of using the spirit to distribute the medicinal power and toxicity, or the final process of forming the core and forming the pill, it was much slower than the previous 4 times. However, after the pills were refined, a trace of worry flashed across Feng Yun's face as he looked at the pills that were even rounder and more lustrous. Yu Haoran waved his sleeve and put away the 8 pills before flicking the last one in front of Xiang Wenxuan. Brother Xiang, take a look at the medicinal power of this pill. Reaching out to catch the pill that was shot over, A trace of shock flashed across Yang Wenxuan's face through its shape, color, and smell. Then, he gave his own judgment with a rueful expression. Brother Yu, although the medicinal power of this pill is more abundant than the antidote pills you've refined before, the poison contained in this pill is very mild. According to my experience, out of the 9 pills refined this time, 3 of them should be able to neutralize the snake beauty's lethal poison in a person's body. As for the effect, we just need to try it. Yu Haoran was clearer than anyone about the effects of the pills that he had refined personally and the medicinal power and toxicity of the spirit. However, words were not proof. Therefore, Yu Haoran turned his head and instructed He Xiong, who was lying in the corner and refining the spirit stone in his body through deep sleep. He Xiong, go outside the guild hall and choose a martial master who has been poisoned by the snake beauty's lethal poison. Yes, master. He opened his eyes, stretched his arms and legs, and left the Qingyao pavilion. When He Xiong went to choose the people to test the medicinal efficacy of the pill, Yu Haoran looked at the pill furnace in front of him, thinking about a thought that suddenly flashed through his mind while he was refining the pill. Whether it was the ruthless Jiang Yin or the noble Qin Tianyi and Meng Sheng, the reason why they were polite and even respectful to him was not because of his identity as an alchemy master, but because of the threat of the snake beauty's venom. After he helped these people remove the effects of the pills, those with good temperaments would remember his kindness and perhaps repay him in the future. But for people like Jiang Yin and Meng Sheng, it was impossible for them not to be disgusted by his actions of looting a burning house and asking for precious elixirs. In the end, they might even bite the hand that fed them. Therefore, in order to ensure his own safety, he had to think of a way to tamper with the pills before completely removing the beauty snake's poison from these people's bodies. Combined with the development of the black saliva ball in his previous life, a trace of a more evil idea gradually formed in his mind. Especially after discussing and analyzing with Thaling, he finally determined the feasibility of this method. Thinking of this, Yu Haoran took out another 41 elixirs and placed them in front of him one by one. Then, he handed the antidote he had just refined to Xiang Wenxuan and asked him to help verify the effects of the pills. He himself tried to see if the plan he had just made was feasible. Just as Xiang Wenxuan got up to verify the martial master that He Xiong had just chosen, Yu Haoran quietly took out a poisonous elixir from the victor and threw it directly into the pill furnace. Then, one by one, the elixirs were thrown into the pill furnace. In the process of melting and refining, he would more or less integrate and purify the spiritual liquid of the first elixir that contained the poison. When all 18 elixirs had been completely melted and purified and were beginning to fuse and form a pill, a special method replaced the soul interception secret technique. When the 9 pills were out of the furnace, Yu Haoran held a pill in his hand, and together with Thaling, who used his divine sense, they checked the newly refined pills to see if they had the effects they had set up. Through the careful observation of his divine sense, Yu Haoran could roughly confirm that the antidote he had just refined should be able to achieve the effect of countering the opponent. However, without a real test, he could not be 100% assured. Originally, he wanted He Xiong to choose a martial ancestor realm martial artist to verify the antidote he had just refined. However, he saw Hu Bing rushing over. Brother Yu here, suddenly stopping in front of Yu Haoran. Hu Bing took out a storage bag embroidered with silver plum blossoms from his chest. Reaching out to take the storage bag, his divine sense directly entered the bag. Then, 7 wooden boxes and 3 jade boxes appeared on the stone table. With a wave of his hand, he used a gust of wind to open the 10 boxes, revealing the 10 elixirs stored in the boxes. Looking at the 10 elixirs that Hu Bing had brought, each one of them was a level 5 or 9 elixir of excellent quality. While Yu Haoran was deeply satisfied, he could not help but sigh at the benefits of being born into a powerful force. Hu Bing, after many refining experiences and discussions with Grandmaster Xiang, the antidote I have refined now can almost achieve the effect of 3 antidotes. It can neutralize the beauty snake's poison in a person's body. waving his hand to store the 10 elixirs into the victor. Yu Haoran discussed with Hu Bing. However, as for the effect, it still needs to be verified by a person. So, faced with Yu Haoran's interrogation, Hu Bing did not hesitate and directly stretched out his left hand to ask for the elixirs. Take them one by one. If you feel that something is wrong, tell me immediately. Taking out 3 elixirs and placing them in Hu Bing's hand, Yu Haoran instructed with concern. Understand. Nodding his head, Hu Bing directly took one of the elixirs and swallowed it. When the elixir began to take effect, Yu Haoran secretly formed a hand seal. Through the hand seal, he did not need to use his divine sense to observe. Through the hand seal, he could sense the changes in the spirit energy in Hu Bing's body. Perhaps because he had added a poisonous elixir, the antidote's effect was stronger. Originally, he had estimated that he would need 3 antidotes to neutralize the beauty snake's poison in Hu Bing's body. However, after taking the second antidote, Hu Bing's spirit energy had completely recovered. Great, I've finally recovered. Feeling the spirit energy churning in his dantian, Hu Bing could not help but shout excitedly. Hu Bing's shout caused Feng Yun and Jiang Yin, who had been watching them, to turn pale. Chapter 570. The chapter number of the previous chapter was entered incorrectly. I have already contacted the editor. Qingyuan Guild Hall, Qingyao Pavilion. Feng Yun turned to Jiang Yin and said helplessly, Vice Pavilion Leader Jiang, it looks like we have to give up the infant soul flower. Consecrator Feng, I now suspect that even if we take out the infant soul flower, Yu Haoran will still choose to make a deal with us. Jiang Yin thought of Feng Yun's stubborn attitude when he had rejected the deal, and how Zhao Ji had once told her that Yu Haoran would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Instead, she was worried that he would reject the deal. He won't. In contrast to Jiang Yan's worries, Feng Yun was very confident. Yu Haoran will definitely make a deal with us. The only difference is that he will definitely increase the price of a deal on the basis of the original deal. At this point, Feng Yun suddenly stopped talking and used his divine sense to speak to Jiang Yin. Jiang Yin, no matter how unreasonable Yu Haoran's next request is, we have to agree to it in order to get rid of the beauty snake's poison in our bodies. Any request? Jiang Yin also used her divine sense and asked reluctantly in return. That's right. Feng Yun turned to look at Yu Haoran, who was talking to Hu Bing, and spoke with his divine sense eerily. However, at the same time that we agree to his request, we have to increase the number of antidote pills and strive to recover all the martial emperors in the Hidden Art Loft. If all the martial emperors and above recover their spiritual strength and origin energy, then I will make Yu Haoran spit out 10 times the amount of treasures that he has taken from our heavenly fragrance pavilion. Rob and kill? Jiang Yin asked excitedly, her heart trembling slightly. Rob, but not kill. Feng Yun shook his head with a smug smile on his face. Jiang Yin, you should know that there are less than 30 alchemists in the Tianxian continent who have reached the alchemy grandmaster realm. Every alchemy grandmaster is also known as a mobile elixir treasure house. After we capture Yu Haoran alive, I will use the demonic Dao's secret soul controlling technique and turn him into our heavenly fragrance pavilion's elixir treasure house. All right, Jiang Yin, who was also excited, hurriedly nodded in agreement with Feng Yun's plan. Hu Bing, although your experiment just now proved that 2 detoxification pills can neutralize the beauty snake's poison, you are, after all, only a martial master. You have yet to condense your spirit, so your need for the detoxification pills is relatively small. Seeing that Hu Bing decided to bring back 2 detoxification pills for Qin Tianyi after his personal experience, Yu Haoran kindly reminded him. In fact, Yu Haoran is worried that Qin Tianyi, who has outstanding potential, will have a certain resistance to the special toxicity that he has integrated into the medicinal pill. Letting him take 1 more medicinal pill will increase the success of the countermeasure. Brother Yu's reminder is correct. Then I'll send 3 antidote pills to the 3rd prince. Nodding his head, Hu Bing took the 3 pills from Yu Haoran's hands, put them into a pill bottle, and cupped his fists to bid farewell. Hu Bing, now that the beauty snake's poison in your body has been neutralized, the agreement between you and me can be considered finished. After helping Qin Tianyi neutralize the beauty snake's poison in his body, let him fulfill his promise. You can go directly to the Ministry of Justice to be an official. After verifying the efficacy of the detoxification pills a second time, especially the second poison pill that contained his countermeasure, Yu Haoran felt that he owed Hu Bing. Originally, he wanted to let Hu Bing continue to help him deal with the people outside the hall, but his thoughts faded a lot. Moreover, according to his understanding of the Emperor Qin Kingdom's officialdom in his previous life, although the Ministry of Justice did not have as much power as the Supreme Court, it wanted stability and easy to be promoted. Faced with Yu Haoran's proposal, Hu Bing was indeed moved. It was not that he did not want to continue working for Yu Haoran, but because the people that he faced when working for Yu Haoran were not people that he and the Hu clan behind him could provoke. If there was the slightest mistake in the process of dealing with them, it was very likely that it would lead to a fatal disaster in the end. However, according to his initial agreement with Yu Haoran, the things that he needed to do were not even one-third complete. If he nodded and withdrew now, it would seem that he was letting the other party down. Hu Bing, you don't have to feel any burden in your heart. What I'm going to do next is not something that you, a mere martial master without any foundation, can interfere with. To be able to have some concerns, Hu Bing's hesitant reaction made Yu Haoran very satisfied. He also really did not want to trouble Hu Bing, so he took the initiative to comfort him. All right, Yu Haoran's initiative to comfort him also made Hu Bing finally think it through. When he nodded and agreed to his suggestion, he also gave his own guarantee. Brother Yu, if there is anything that you need me for in the future, please do not hesitate to speak up. I will. Nodding, Yu Haoran watched Hu Bing leave Qingyao Pavilion. After that, he returned to the elixir furnace, intending to take advantage of the time before Meng Sheng and the others returned to Qingyao Pavilion to refine a portion of the elixirs that contain the countermeasure. Deputy Pavilion Leader Jiang, let's wait for Yu Haoran to finish refining the elixirs first. Seeing that Jiang Yin was about to take advantage of Hu Bing's absence to discuss the deal with Yu Haoran again, Feng Yun immediately stopped her. Why? Jiang Yin asked in confusion. Let's wait for him to finish his deal with Meng Sheng and the others. Then we'll talk to him in private, Feng Yun explained. The reason why they had delayed the discussion of the deal was mainly because Feng Yun had noticed that after receiving the 10 spiritual medicine that Hu Bing had sent over, Yu Haoran's mood had improved significantly, and he had started to become easier to talk to. Therefore, he intended to wait for Yu Haoran to collect the 108 spiritual medicine and be in a good mood before discussing the deal with the antidote. In this way, he and Jiang Yin would suffer less humiliation from the other party. With the first time refining the elixir that contained the countermeasure, the next few refining processes were even easier. After refining a total of 4 cauldrons of 36 elixirs, Yu Haoran finally finished refining the elixirs when Meng Sheng rushed into Qingyao Pavilion like lightning. Grandmaster Yu, these are the 15 spiritual medicines marked in the jade slip. Meng Sheng directly took out 15 wooden boxes from his storage space and placed them on the stone table one by one. Meng Sheng's attitude was still considered rather respectful, as he indicated. Using the strong wind from his sleeves to open the 15 wooden boxes, Yu Haoran nodded in satisfaction when he discovered that the quality of the 15 spiritual medicines were all pretty good. Young Master Meng, just when you all went to prepare the spiritual medicines, after my discussion with Grandmaster Xiang, we're already able to refine an antidote that only requires 3 elixirs to cure the beauty snake's poison. As he explained, Yu Haoran took out 3 elixirs and used essence energy to deliver them to Meng Sheng. Meng Sheng, who was not worried at all that Yu Haoran would dare to harm him, directly swallowed the 3 antidote elixirs after receiving them. When the divine soul in his sea of consciousness and the essence energy in his dantian recovered to their peak, Meng Sheng suddenly had an additional domineering air of arrogance on his body. At the same time, his originally respectful attitude towards Yu Haoran instantly became cold and detached. He did not cup his fists with both hands, nor did he say anything. He only glanced coldly at Yu Haoran before turning around and leaving Qingyao Pavilion directly. Chapter 571. Qingyuan Guild Hall, Qingyao Pavilion. Yu Haoran casually put away the 15 stalks of spirit herbs on the stone table. He planned to continue refining a batch of antidote pills so that he could deal with the poisoned people outside the guild hall. However, the people who had left back then seemed to have made an agreement with each other. Every 3 to 5 minutes, one of them would return. This made it impossible for him to concentrate on refining pills. Fortunately, everyone who returned to the Qingyao Pavilion fulfilled their promise and brought back the agreed amount of spirit herbs. Yu Haoran's gloominess was instantly washed away by joy. Brother Yu, my third question is about you. After watching Yu Haoran put away the last 6 stalks of spirit herbs on the stone table, Xiang Wenshuan, who had been silently watching, directly asked the third question that had accumulated in his heart. Brother Xiang, about your third question, I'll explain to you later, okay? Glancing at Feng Yun and Jiang Yin walking over, Yu Haoran knew that it was time for him to lay his cards on the table with the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion. Therefore, he apologized to Xiang Wenshuan and returned to his seat at the stone table, quietly watching Feng Yun and Jiang Yin walk up to him. Grandmaster Yu, all the fault lies with this old man's muddle-headedness and incompetence. I hope that Yu Haoran waved his hand and interrupted Feng Yun's apology. If you want to trade antidote pills again, that's fine, but you have to add 2 more conditions on top of the original one. Please state them. Feng Yun, who had been prepared, said directly. 40 storage pouches between 50 and 80 square meters. Yu Haoran proposed the first condition. No problem. Feng Yun, who had also been prepared, replied readily. Storage pouches might be a scarce resource for other factions, but for the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion, they were essential items for transactions. Even if it were 80, he wouldn't feel the slightest bit of heartache for Yu Haoran, let alone 40. Blood essence of exotic beasts that contain the bloodline of divine dragons. 3 drops for each level, from the 9th grade of the 4th level to the 9th grade of the 7th level. Yu Haoran proposed the second condition. No problem. The Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion had collected a lot of different types of blood essence from exotic beasts that contained the bloodline of the divine dragon. Therefore, when faced with Yu Haoran's second condition, Feng Yun also readily agreed. Since that's the case, I'll refine 45 antidotes for you on the spot after you bring me the things I need. Since the other party agreed so readily, Yu Haoran also expressed his attitude. Grandmaster Yu, 45 detoxification pills. Are they the same as the 3 detoxification pills that you refined just now that could detoxify the beauty snake's poison? The cautious Feng Yun asked cautiously to prevent Yu Haoran from tricking him. Of course. Yu Haoran's face darkened as he mocked in a displeased tone. Feng Yun, do you think that the process of concocting the antidote and using the spirit-severing technique is very easy? It's very taxing on one's elemental energy and mind. If the beauty snake's poison wasn't so strong, I wouldn't have used the spirit-severing technique. Grandmaster Yu, please don't be angry. I don't know anything about alchemy. That's why I asked such an ignorant question. Although Yu Haoran's sarcasm was harsh, Feng Yun felt very good when he heard it. After quickly calculating the number of martial emperors in the Hidden Elegance Pavilion and confirming the final number of spiritual herbs required, Feng Yun and Jiang Yin looked at each other. Then, he spoke respectfully in an ingratiating tone. Grandmaster Yu, you know that Ru Yin is deliberately targeting the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion. Almost everyone in the Hidden Elegance Pavilion has been poisoned by the beauty snake. Feng Yun pretended to be sorrowful as he pleaded. Grandmaster Yu, Deputy Pavilion Leader Jiang and I are willing to give up everything we have in exchange for the antidote to save our loyal subordinates' lives. Quantity. With Jiang Yan's vicious nature, he didn't care about the lives of his subordinates. Therefore, Yu Haoran was immediately alarmed when Feng Yun suddenly asked for the antidote to save his subordinates' lives. Therefore, he directly asked for the quantity, hoping to deduce Feng Yun and Jiang Yan's intentions. Apart from the 45 antidote that we discussed at the beginning, we still need 54 antidote pills. Feng Yun gave him the number of antidote pills that he had calculated beforehand. 3 antidote pills could cure 1 person of the beauty snake's poison. 54 antidote pills meant that they needed to save 18 people. Thinking back to the first time he had entered the Hidden Elegance Pavilion, Thowling had used his divine thought to check the number of masters in the Hidden Elegance Pavilion. He immediately knew why Feng Yun wanted 54 antidote pills. He wanted to restore all the martial emperors in the Hidden Elegance Pavilion. He only wanted to restore the martial saints and martial emperors. He didn't care about the lives of the martial kings, martial grandmasters, and martial masters. Feng Yun's actions would definitely cause these people to be sad and disappointed. It would also make it very difficult for the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion to recruit and nurture martial kings, martial grandmasters, and martial masters in the future. With Feng Yun's scheming personality, he shouldn't have made such a low-level mistake. However, he had done it, and it was so obvious. He must have a secret that he couldn't tell anyone. What kind of secret was it? As Yu Haoran pondered over Feng Yun's secret, he inadvertently saw the pill furnace placed to the side from the corner of his eye. A thought instantly appeared in his mind. Feng Yun must want to use these martial emperors to kill him along the way. He also didn't need to worry about disappointing his martial kings, martial grandmasters, and martial masters. No, not kill him, but capture him alive and use all sorts of torturous methods to force him to refine antidote pills for them. While Yu Haoran sighed at Feng Yun's sinister nature, he also thought of a way to deal a heavy blow to the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion. 54 antidote pills. At most, I'll need to refine the furnace 6 times. It won't take too much time and effort. Nodding, Yu Haoran expressed his willingness to make the deal. But soon after, his tone changed, and he spoke in a voice filled with contempt. Feng Yun, I can agree to give you 54 more antidote pills, but what kind of price are you willing to pay? In the face of Yu Haoran's question, Feng Yun was brimming with confidence. He took out a jade slip from his storage ring and explained. Grandmaster Yu, this jade slip records the lifetime of the pill saint, venerable fallen leaves from 70,000 years ago. Is it enough to exchange for 54 antidote pills? Chapter 572. Pure Source Guild Hall, Pure Elegance Pavilion. Feng Yun, could the pill Dao insights recorded in your jade slip be from Venerable Leah, the one who had the greatest chance of becoming a pill divinity 70,000 years ago? After hearing Feng Yun's introduction of the contents of the jade slip, before Yu Haoran could express any opinion, he quickly asked Wen Xian excitedly. Yu Haoran couldn't help but sigh. He knew that his plan to extort Feng Yun and Jiang Yan with the antidote pills had fallen through. That's right. Feng Yun nodded with a smile. Old brother Yu, isn't just 54 antidote pills? Promise him. After receiving confirmation from Feng Yun, Xiang Wenxuan hurriedly turned his head and demanded in a hurried tone. AI. Yu Haoran shook his head and sighed. He stretched out his left hand and said to Feng Yun, hand it over. Here. Although he hadn't given a clear answer, Yu Haoran's initiative to ask for the jade slip was proof that he agreed to the terms of the deal. Thus, Feng Yun's face blossomed with joy as he hurriedly passed the jade slip that recorded his insights into the Tao of Alchemy to Yu Haoran. The brighter the smile on Feng Yun's face became, the more annoyed Yu Haoran became. When he saw Feng Yun return to the corner of the room and continue to refine spirit stones in his sleep, he suddenly had the idea of blackmailing Feng Yun. Feng Yun, in addition to the pill Dao insights of a peak alchemy grandmaster, prepare 100,000 grade 6 spirit stones for me. Feng Yun's smile froze, and he could only nod with a wry smile. All right, I've basically used up all the spiritual herbs that can be used to refine the detoxification pill, so hurry up and prepare the things I need. Yu Haoran waved his hand at Feng Yun and Jiang Yan as he chased them out. All right. Although they didn't know why Yu Haoran had suddenly asked them to leave, the sooner they exchanged the antidote pills, the faster they could recover their soul and origin energy. They could also set up a plan to kill Yu Haoran in advance. Therefore, Feng Yun took his leave and left the Qingya Pavilion with Jiang Yan. Consecrator Feng, logically speaking, Yu Haoran should have given us a few detoxification pills first, so that we can recover a portion of our soul, and Yuan Qi, so that we can prepare what he needs more quickly. Jiang Yan, who was being pulled away from the Qingya Pavilion by Feng Yun, asked with a puzzled expression. Yeah. After hearing Jiang Yan's reminder, Feng Yun immediately recalled that when Meng Sheng and the others were exchanging spiritual herbs, Yu Haoran had given them a few detoxification pills in advance so that they could temporarily recover a portion of their strength. Thinking of this, Feng Yun hurriedly turned around, intending to enter the Qingya Pavilion and ask Yu Haoran for a few antidote pills in advance. But at this moment, the door of the Qingya Pavilion was slammed shut. It's this old man's mistake. Feng Yun blamed himself as he looked at the tightly shut courtyard door. Consecrator Feng, don't blame yourself. Let's hurry and prepare the things Yu Haoran needs and exchange them for antidote pills as soon as possible. After persuading Feng Yun not to blame himself, Jiang Yan looked at the tightly shut courtyard door and roared inwardly with a savage expression. Yu Haoran, just you wait. It won't be long before I make you pay the price in blood. After tossing the jade slip containing Venerable Lie's pill Dao insights to Xiang Wenxuan, Yu Haoran waved his sleeve and used a gust of wind to close the courtyard door. Xiang Wenxuan was first stunned when he stretched out his hand to catch the jade slip Yu Haoran tossed over, and then he passed it over to Yu Haoran before shaking his head and refusing. Brother Yu, Venerable Lie was the only pill Dao saint from 70,000 years ago to reach the peak of the Grandmaster level. If he hadn't suffered a sudden emotional betrayal that led to an inner demon entering his body and ultimately dying from cultivation deviation, he would have surely become a pill god. On the verge of becoming a pill god, his life's pill Dao insights are no less than a peak heaven-tier cultivation method. Logically speaking, I can't comprehend them. Brother Xiang, this is a jade slip that records Venerable Lie's life's pill Dao insights. It's not an inheritance jade slip that can only be used once. Yu Haoran explained with a smile as he pushed the jade slip back to Xiang Wenxuan. When you finish comprehending the insights recorded in the jade slip, return it to me. I can also continue to comprehend Venerable Lie's pill Dao insights. Yu Haoran put away his smile and said solemnly, If Brother Xiang feels that you don't deserve it, then I'd like to ask you to do me a favor. Speak. Xiang Wenxuan didn't continue to refuse the jade slip and gestured. Elder brother, help me refine a set of medicinal pills. Yu Haoran replied. What kind of pill? Xiang Wenxuan asked solemnly. From the technique, heat, and experience Yu Haoran showed when he was refining the antidote pill, Xiang Wenxuan knew that he was even slightly inferior to him in terms of refining pills. The pill that could make Yu Haoran ask him to help him refine must be an earth-shattering, high-quality pill. Brother Xiang, according to your experience, what kind of pill do you think I'm going to refine next? Without answering Xiang Wenxuan's question directly, Yu Haoran walked straight to an open space and took out the 108 spiritual herbs in the victor. He placed them neatly on the ground and asked, Rank 5, Rank 9 Sky, Phoenix Grass. Rank 5, Rank 9 Lifebone Flower. Rank 5, Rank 9 Purple Monkey Flower. Xiang Wenxuan observed the spiritual herbs that Yu Haoran placed on the ground one by one. The more he observed, the more solemn his expression became. Rank 5, Rank 9 Sky Heart Fruit. Xiang Wenxuan closed his eyes after inspecting the last stalk of Grade 5 and Grade 9 Spirit Herb. 5 seconds later, he abruptly opened his eyes and asked in a nervous tone, Brother Yu, could it be that you're planning to refine the 5 Lives Profound Gate Pill that can improve one's state of mind and comprehension? It's said that it can let people enter the cycle of reincarnation through dreams. Brother Xiang, I have to say that your eyes are really sharp. I'm indeed planning to refine the 5 Lives Profound Gate Pill. Yu Haoran nodded and confirmed. Brother Yu, how confident are you? Xiang Wenxuan asked. With the help of the natal elixir furnace left by the pill Sage Miao Zun and my level of alchemy, I was only 50% confident. Yu Haoran walked in front of Xiang Wenxuan and grabbed his arm. His tone was full of joy. But now, with Brother Xiang's help, I'm 70% confident. Brother Yu, on the path of alchemy, if you want to refine a high-quality elixir, as long as you're 30% confident, you could take the risk, even if you lose precious spiritual herbs. Hearing that Yu Haoran was 70% confident, Xiang Wenxuan heaved a sigh of relief and promised, "Since you want to create a miracle, then I'll create it with you. As long as you need me to do something, just tell me." Okay. After getting Xiang Wenxuan's promise, Yu Haoran nodded with satisfaction and reminded him. Chapter 573. Qingyuan Guild Hall, Qingyu Pavilion. That's right, Brother Xiang. What's your third question? He had already gathered the 108 types of spirit herbs that he needed to prepare, and he had already obtained Xiang Wenxuan's approval to help him refine the pill. What he needed to do next was to rest up and then refine the 5 Lives Mystery Gate Elixir with all his might. But at this moment, Yu Haoran suddenly remembered that Xiang Wenxuan had mentioned that he had 3 questions at the beginning, and he hurriedly asked, "Younger brother Yu, my third question is to ask about your master in the Tao of Alchemy." Compared to the nervousness and excitement he showed when he learned that he was refining the 5 Lives Mystery Gate Elixir, Xiang Wenxuan was only nervous when he asked about Yu Haoran's master in alchemy. This was because Yu Haoran's master in alchemy was related to whether or not he had the opportunity to inherit the Valley of the Medicine Masters. "Brother Xiang, I don't have any master," Yu Haoran replied, shaking his head. In his previous life, the reason why he was able to achieve such remarkable achievements in alchemy cultivation was not only because of his outstanding talent in alchemy, but also because he had obtained various inheritances from different alchemy grandmasters and great-grandmasters during his many adventures. It was also because he dared to use his own body as a test subject. Really, at such a young age, his alchemy had already reached the level of a grandmaster, but he did not have any master. This made Xiang Wenxuan excited, but he also did not dare to believe it. "Brother Xiang, how can I, Yu Haoran, joke about such a formal topic?" Yu Haoran said solemnly. "If that's the case, then Brother Yu, after you finish attending the Qin Alliance meeting, can you make a trip to the Valley of the Medicine Masters?" Xiang Wenxuan asked carefully. "Brother Xiang, could it be for the Alchemy Master's inheritance?" Yu Haoran probed. Inviting a fellow alchemist to the Valley of the Medicine Masters was not something to be ashamed of, but Xiang Wenxuan was so careful. This made Yu Haoran suddenly think of one of the 3 treasures of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, the Alchemy Master's inheritance that only the direct descendants of the Valley of the Medicine Masters could enter. That's right, it's the Alchemy Venerable's inheritance from the Medicine King Valley. Xiang Wenxuan was stunned when he saw Yu Haoran directly mentioning the Alchemy Venerate's inheritance. However, when he recalled the prestige of the Alchemy Venerate's inheritance, it was normal for Yu Haoran to be able to guess it. "Brother Xiang, can you give me some time to think about it?" In his previous life, Yu Haoran had wanted to enter the Valley of the Medicine Master's Alchemy Venerate's legacy more than once. This was because the founder of the Alchemy Venerate's Medicine Valley was the founder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. He was also a great grandmaster whose alchemy cultivation had reached the pinnacle. However, what Yu Haoran yearned for the most was that Venerable Alchemy was a genius who was proficient in both the Tao of pills and the Tao of poison. Furthermore, his alchemy and poison path cultivation had both reached the peak of the martial grandmaster realm. Currently, on the 100 poison ranking list of the Tianxian land, close to 30% of the poison pellets were created by this honored pill master. However, after his rebirth, alchemy was only an auxiliary path to martial cultivation. He would not waste too much time on alchemy. More importantly, if he wanted to enter the Medicine Valley of the Alchemy Venerate's legacy, he would have to join the Valley of the Medicine Masters and choose an elder to become his disciple. Through this, he would gain the status of a direct descendant. This was something that he found difficult to accept. Therefore, regarding whether to join the Valley of the Medicine Masters and accept the sage's legacy, Yu Haoran was somewhat worried. Brother Yu, this is a record of the honored pill master's life legend. Take a look at it when you have the time, then decide whether to accept the alchemy venerate's legacy. Faced with Yu Haoran's hesitation, Xiang Wenxuan did not get angry. This was because he also knew that Yu Haoran, who had already entered the Grandmaster realm at such a young age, might not be interested in the alchemy venerate's legacy. Therefore, he hoped that after Yu Haoran truly understood the alchemy venerate's life legend, he would reconsider. All right, after taking the jade scroll from Xiang Wenxuan, Yu Haoran kept it in his storage ring and casually threw it in a corner. This was because he had seen this jade scroll more than once in his previous life. It was also because he had seen this jade scroll that he had always longed to enter the Medicine Valley and accept the alchemy venerate's legacy in his previous life. Brother Xiang, let's adjust our breathing for a while. When our essence, energy, and spirit have all reached their peak, then we can start refining the 5 Lives Mystery Gate Elixir, Yu Haoran suggested. Nodding his head, Xiang Wenxuan walked directly to the side of the elixir furnace, then sat down cross-legged and began to adjust his condition. After Yu Haoran put away the 108 spirit herbs, he also sat cross-legged in front of the elixir furnace and adjusted his breathing like Xiang Wenxuan. The sun rose in the west and set in the east. A night's time had passed in the blink of an eye. Xiang Wenxuan, who was adjusting his breathing, was the first to open his eyes. A glimmer of light flashed in his originally clear eyes. In less than a minute, Yu Haoran also opened his eyes, and his whole person seemed to be abnormally excited. Looking at each other, Yu Haoran took the lead and asked, "Brother Xiang, are you ready? I can start any time." Nodding his head, Xiang Wenxuan said excitedly, "Brother Xiang, among the 108 spirit herbs, there are 72 spirit herbs that need to be melted and purified using the power of the soul to drive the fire of the elixir furnace to perfectly remove the impurities in the elixir. Taking out 108 spirit herbs from the storage ring, he then selected 36 spirit herbs and placed them beside him. The remaining 72 spirit herbs were pushed in front of Xiang Wenxuan. So after I've melted and purified 36 spirit herbs, I'll have to trouble you with the remaining 72 spirit herbs. Don't worry, I'll do my best to remove all the impurities in the elixir. It won't affect your elixir fusion later." Looking at the 72 spirit herbs in front of him, Xiang Wenxuan nodded and promised. Okay. After receiving Xiang Wenxuan's promise, Yu Haoran nodded and then shouted at Black Bear, who was sleeping soundly in the corner. "Black Bear, Master!" Hearing Yu Haoran's call, Black Bear immediately stood up and rushed in front of Yu Haoran. "Guard the Qingya Pavilion tightly and don't allow anyone to enter. Violators will be killed on the spot," Yu Haoran ordered seriously. What if the Peak Master, Black Bear, whose intelligence was not inferior to humans, immediately thought of Gao Wanping, who had the right to enter the Qingya Pavilion, and asked hurriedly, "Kill them all," Yu Haoran ordered with a murderous aura. Then, he turned his head to look at Gong Yuyuan's room and ordered with the same murderous aura. "Black Bear, if the person surnamed Gong wants to leave the room, kill him as well." The 5 Lives Elixir was not only related to whether he had the right to speak on equal terms with the person in the palace, but it was also the basis for him to fight for the interests of the sect. He could not allow any mistakes. Chapter 574. Qingyuan Guild Hall, Qingya Pavilion. "Brother Xiang, I'm going to start." After He Xiong retreated, Yu Haoran reminded Xiang Wenxuan. Then, he circulated his origin energy and started to drive the alchemy fire in the cauldron. Not only did rank 5 and rank 9 spiritual herbs contain more spiritual energy, but their defensive properties also increased with the increase in rank. Originally, it would only take 1 to 2 minutes to completely melt and purify the spiritual herbs. This time, it took him nearly 5 minutes to completely melt and purify 1 stalk of spiritual herb. Of course, this was also related to his own cultivation level. After more than 2 hours, he used spiritual stones and pills to recover his origin energy 3 times before completely refining the 36 stalks of spiritual herbs. After using his divine sense to expel the 36 walnut-sized drops of spiritual liquid to the edge of the cauldron, Yu Haoran tiredly nodded at Xiang Wenxuan. "Brother Yu, leave the rest to me." With his left hand on the cauldron, his peak rank 8 martial king spirit and origin energy quickly replaced Yu Haoran's origin energy. While maintaining the high temperature of the alchemy fire, Xiang Wenxuan signaled Yu Haoran to rest first. "Brother Xiang, I'll have to trouble you." Nodding at Xiang Wenxuan, Yu Haoran moved back a meter and hurriedly swallowed the elixir that he had prepared beforehand to recover his energy in Yuan Li, seizing the opportunity to recover his energy in Yuan Li. After all, Xiang Wenxuan was using his spirit and origin energy at the same time. The speed at which he melted and purified the spiritual herbs was very fast. He had to recover to his peak state as soon as possible so that he could fuse the spiritual liquid. While Xiang Wenxuan was assisting Yu Haoran in refining the 5 Lives Profound Gate pill, the crowd outside the Qingyuan Guild Hall, who had been waiting for nearly a day and night, gradually lost their patience. Especially after seeing Meng Sheng and the others fully recovered, as well as Feng Yun and Jiang Yan's seemingly unintentional but actually intentional provocation, their patience had reached its limit. If it weren't for the fact that the Qingyuan Guild Hall was an official and that was directly under the management of the Grand Council, these people who were about to lose their patience would have already rushed inside. As the sun rose, all living things began to awaken. The staff of the guild hall reported to Yu Haoran 3 times in a row, but Yu Haoran refused to see him. A hot-tempered man, with a cultivation at the peak of the 9th grade martial emperor realm, could not stand it any longer and decided to barge into the guild hall. Mother Kerr, the result of forcefully breaking into the Pure Source Guild Hall is nothing more than being locked up in the dungeon for 10 years. But without the antidote for the beauty snake's poison, the end result is certain death. I, Old Bear, am going to throw caution to the wind. Today I'm going to barge into the Clear Source Guild Hall and see what that little bastard is up to. Although he was forcing his way through, the brawny man surnamed Xiong was no fool. He knew that by comparing the consequences of his actions, he could arouse the crowd's patience to the limit. His status was not inferior to that of those who were higher than him. If all of them tried to force their way into the Clear Source Guild Hall at the same time, the final result would be that the law would not be able to punish all of them, and the matter would be left unsettled. As for the brawny man, surnamed Xiong's impulsive curses, a few people whose patience had reached the brink of exploding immediately agreed excitedly. Furthermore, they followed behind the brawny man, surnamed Xiong, and began to force their way into the Qin Yuan Guild Hall. "Sirs, I beg of you, you can't force your way into the Clear Source Guild Hall." The waiter guarding the entrance of the Clear Source Guild Hall was so anxious that he almost cried when he saw the agitated crowd planning to force their way into the guild hall. "Stop them." The people in front of him were all influential figures in Xianyang City. If he angered them, he would definitely not be able to keep his life after this matter. However, if he did not stop them and allowed them to barge into the guild hall, according to the rules of the Clear Source Guild Hall, he would be locked up in the dungeon. Whether he would be able to come out alive in the end would depend on the will of the heavens. Therefore, when faced with the pressing crowd, the waiter planned to kneel down in his panic and beg for the crowd to calm down. However, just as he bent his knees and planned to kneel down, he unexpectedly saw Gao lomping and Meng Yan slowly walking over from not too far away. A happy smile immediately appeared on his face. Meng Yan was not only an important figure in the Grand Council, he was also the person in charge of the Clear Source Guild Hall. Gao Wamping was not only the peak master of the 100 Qi Gates Law Enforcement Peak and the deputy envoy of the Qin Alliance Conference, but he was also Yu Haoran's martial uncle. With these two people present, they could not only calm the crowd down for forcing their way into the guild hall, but they could also ask Yu Haoran to resolve the problem of the poison in their bodies. "Sirs, please listen to me first." The waiter took a step back and opened his arms, blocking the crowd from forcing their way into the Vermilion Gate as he shouted loudly, "Brat, this has nothing to do with you. Now, get out of my way. The brawny man, surnamed Xiong, reprimanded with a gloomy expression. Lord Xiong, don't be anxious. Faced with the brawny man, surnamed Xiong's threat, the waiter hurriedly smiled apologetically and pointed behind the crowd. Sirs, please turn around and take a look. Lord Meng. I'm sure you all recognize him. The person beside Lord Meng is Grandmaster Yu, the martial uncle of Vice Sect Master Yu, whom all of you have been wanting to meet. Now that Lord Meng and Grandmaster Yu's martial uncle have come forward, I'm sure that all of you will be able to enter the guild hall without breaking the laws of the state of Qin and meet Grandmaster Yu. Brat, not bad. After hearing the waiter's explanation and reminder, the brawny man, surnamed Xiong, secretly let out a sigh of relief. He praised the waiter and then strode forward to meet Meng Yun and Gao Wamping. Originally, when Meng Yun saw the crowd in front of the Clear Source Guild Hall, he felt that it was a little strange. Now that he saw this group of people striding directly towards him, he had even more questions in his heart. However, the group of people striding towards him were either wealthy or noble. The power behind them was not something that Meng Yun could provoke. Thus, temporarily suppressing the doubts in his heart, Meng Yun walked forward with a smile on his face. After hearing the crowd's explanation, Meng Yun raised his head and looked at Gao Wamping. Gao Wamping was also confused. Because Yu Haoran was proficient in alchemy, apart from the Black Widow, He Ruyu, and a law enforcement peak of the Merit Hall, no one in the 100 Chi Gate knew about it. What's more, everyone had just mentioned that Yu Haoran's alchemy skills were already at the Grandmaster realm, which made it even harder for Gao Wamping to accept. However, everyone had just solemnly mentioned that Yu Haoran had helped the third prince of the great Emperor Qin state, Qin Tianyi, and young Master Mengsheng of the Meng family, the #1 aristocratic family in Xianyang City, successfully detoxifying the poison of the snake beauty through the detoxification pill refined by Yu Haoran. He had no choice but to believe it. However, whether it was true or not, he only needed to ask Yu Haoran to know. What's more, the group of people in front of him had extraordinary origins. If he could have a close relationship with these people through Yu Haoran's alchemy skills, it would be convenient for him to take action after he pledged allegiance to the great Emperor Qin state in the future. Thinking of this, Gao Wamping smiled and invited them. Sirs, there is no need to be anxious. Martial nephew Yu usually listens to me. I will take you to see him now. Sorry to trouble you. Peak Lord. Many thanks, Peak Lord. Chapter 575. Qingyuan Guild Hall. After receiving Gao Wamping's invitation, everyone smiled happily and thanked Gao Wamping profusely. Don't mention it, this is what I should do. Gao Wamping looked at Meng Yun. After receiving Meng Yun's nod of approval, Gao Wamping led everyone into the Qingyuan Guild Hall. Compared to Yu Haoran, who needed about 5 minutes to melt and purify a spiritual herb, Xiang Wenshuan, who was at the peak of the 8th grade martial royal realm, took less than 1 minute to melt and purify a spiritual herb. Therefore, when Yu Haoran had just recovered to his peak with the help of pills and spirit stones, Xiang Wenshuan had already successfully melted and purified 72 spiritual medicines. However, melting and purifying 72 5th grade and 9th grade spiritual medicines in one go was also a big burden for Xiang Wenshuan, especially the consumption of his spirit, which made his face pale. Brother Xiang, hurry up and rest. Leave the rest of the spiritual liquids to me. Seeing Xiang Wenshuan, who was also exhausted, Yu Haoran immediately took over and reminded him with concern. Xiang Wenshuan took a step back and reminded him. Brother Yu, the fusion of 108 drops of spiritual liquids will determine whether or not the pill can be successfully formed. You must not mess up the order of the spiritual liquids. Brother Xiang, don't worry, I know. Nodding, Yu Haoran took a deep breath and started to fuse the 108 drops of spiritual liquids drop by drop with the help of his newly recovered spiritual liquids. Everyone, Martial Nephew Yu and I will be staying in the Qingyao Pavilion for the time being. I will ask him to come out and welcome you. Gao Wanping said flatteringly as he pointed at the tightly shut Qingyao Pavilion. We don't dare. Let us take the initiative to visit Master Yu. The middle-aged man, surnamed Zhu, who wanted to kill Hu Bing halfway, quickly shook his head. Brother Zhu is right. We should take the initiative to visit Master Yu. Everyone else quickly agreed. After all, they who'd always been standing guard outside the hall had personally witnessed Yu Haoran's attitude towards Meng Sheng, Li Yi, and the others. They didn't dare be careless and make Yu Haoran take the initiative to come out and welcome them. All right then. In the face of everyone's nervousness and fawning, Gao Wanping could only nod his head in agreement. Sirs, please follow me. Gao Wanping gestured and led the way to the entrance of Qingyao Pavilion. Stop. However, just when he was about 10 meters away from the gate, a sharp rebuke rang out. Following the fierce yelling, everyone saw a black-brown bear whose upper body was taller than the wall behind the courtyard door of the Qingyao Pavilion. Everyone, there's no need to panic. This black bear is martial nephew Yu's tame beast. It's very obedient. Afraid that he would startle the crowd, Gao Wanping hurriedly explained with a smile. Then he raised his head and instructed Black Bear. Black Bear, hurry and have martial nephew Yu come out to welcome the lords. However, in the face of Gao Wanping's orders, Black Bear only glanced at him coldly and didn't give any response. Seeing that Black Bear ignored him, Gao Wanping's face instantly revealed a displeased expression, and he unceremoniously reprimanded him. Black Bear, don't tell me you won't even listen to me now. Black Bear glanced coldly at Gao Wanping, but still didn't give any response. All right, looks like I'll have to give martial nephew you a few words and ask him to properly discipline a beast like you who doesn't know how to behave. After being ignored twice in a row, Gao Wanping felt that he'd lost face in front of so many important people. This ignited a flame of anger in his heart. Therefore, he planned to look for Yu Haoran directly and have him teach Black Bear a lesson in front of everyone to regain some face for himself. Gao, if you dare take another step forward, I'll immediately smash you into a meat patty. Black Bear, who hadn't given any response until now, immediately threatened Gao Wanping with a murderous aura when he saw that he was about to step into the Qingyao Pavilion. Black Bear, not only am I Yu Haoran's martial uncle, but I'm also the deputy envoy representing the 100 Qi Gate to attend the Qin Alliance Conference. Black Bear actually dared to threaten him not to enter the Qingyao Pavilion. This completely infuriated Gao Wanping. He raised his head to look at Black Bear, who maintained a height of 7 to 8 meters, and questioned him with a gloomy expression. The Qingyao Pavilion is still arranged by the Emperor Qin Kingdom for the people attending the Qin Alliance Conference to stay. It's not Yu Haoran's private residence. You, as Yu Haoran's beast pet, what right do you have to threaten me not to enter the Qingyao Pavilion? Black Bear lowered his head and glanced at Yu Haoran, who was in the middle of dissolving the spirit liquid. Then he raised his head to look at Gao Wanping and said coldly, Master is currently refining a special high-quality pill. He cannot be disturbed in the slightest. Even if you have the right to enter the Qingyao Pavilion, you have to wait until Master finishes refining the pill before you can enter. Just because he's refining a pill, he wants to stop anyone from entering the Qingyao Pavilion. Yu Haoran really thinks too highly of himself. Black Bear's explanation immediately made Gao Wanping feel a sense of humiliation for being looked down upon. He retorted with an ashen face. In response, Black Bear returned to his silent state. Black Bear, I'm going to enter the Qingyao Pavilion now. If you dare to attack me, then Yu Haoran will bear the infamy of deceiving his master and destroying his ancestors. Gao Wanping sneered and threatened Black Bear when he saw that Black Bear was silent. Then, he lifted his left leg and prepared to walk towards the courtyard door. But at this moment, Black Bear's bare paw viciously slapped towards him without any hesitation. Not good. Meng Yun, who had been on guard against Black Bear, felt the strong murderous intent contained in the bare paw the moment Black Bear made his move. He knew that something was wrong and immediately used his movement technique to save Gao Wanping, who was about to be hit by the bare paw. If it weren't for Gao Wanping's good relationship with Yu Haoran, Black Bear wouldn't have really wanted to slap Gao Wanping to death. With Meng Yun's strength, it was impossible for him to save Gao Wanping. Yu Haoran, you unfilial disciple who deceives his master and destroys his ancestors. You actually dared to let your pet beast sneak attack me. Gao Wanping, who was saved by Meng Yun in time, felt a wave of lingering fear. At the same time, endless rage surged in his heart, and he couldn't help but curse at Yu Haoran in the courtyard. With the help of his essence, energy and spirit that had recovered to peak condition, Yu Haoran consecutively merged 72 drops of spirit liquid. He could be considered to have completed the second stage of the spirit liquid fusion and was able to catch his breath. Consuming the elixir that he had prepared in advance, he planned to continue merging the 36 drops of spirit liquid while recovering his exhausted energy in Yuanli. Coincidentally, he heard Gao Wanping's curses from outside the courtyard, deceiving his master and destroying his ancestors. Hearing Gao Wanping's reason for cursing him was actually deceiving his master and destroying his ancestors, Yu Haoran felt that it was laughable. At the same time, he couldn't help but feel a surge of rage in his heart. Raising his head to look at Black Bear, standing behind the courtyard door, Yu Haoran demanded through gritted teeth, "You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."